What is everybody? Welcome back. Truth and Transparency is here. You guys are here. This is Idaho4 Kohberger, new lawyer, and an interview with MS, female who attended the EXPN party, plus some bonus coverage of, right here, the people of the state of Colorado versus Christopher Russell Jones. Mike Jones. And some truth. The truth line. Chapter 11.2 and chapter 11.5 in Cyray's The Truth Line. I did secure the 51 pages of the transcripts. For a full read-through, Bella has agreed to do that with me this evening. Just the most important parts of it. But it matters because, well, first of all, we're going to kick off with Cyray's book. And so saddle up. This is going to be about like a 2-hour show. That's what I want to get it in. At some point, you're going to have an opinion. Make yourself known. Thumbs it up, thumbs it down. Whatever you deem. Use the comment section of the live feed. Use the comment section of the video. Again, you're going to have your opinions, questions. Make yourself known. All right, so according to Cyray's book here, The People vs. Jones, What Happens Without a Standard. So I broke my own rules. In the summer of 2022, I received a call from a prosecutor in Colorado. He needed an expert witness for a Shrek hearing, which is Colorado's version of a Daubert proceeding, to lay the foundation for the accuracy of the TRACS program, a tool I had built and that had been admitted in courts across the country without serious challenge. The ask was simple: appear via Zoom, explain how TRACS works, done. 3 days notice. No case materials provided, no case file to review. Well, one should ask themselves, why did Cyray ever agree to this? Cyray's not a dummy. 3 days notice? 3 days notice. He says it here. No case materials provided, no case file to review. Well, I'm going to tell you why. And that's because I believe it has to do with a certain Dr. His name is Vladin Jovanovic. Vladin Jovanovic. I believe that Cyray took this with a 3-day notice because of one man. Vladin Jovanovic. Well, Lana, why are you saying that? Like, who the fuck is that? Well, let's just give an analogy here. Let's take a cartoon and take who your arch nemesis is, okay? So pick out any cartoon you want, and there's somebody on each side, okay? That's how I see this, as Cyray saw who was involved in this. Well, Lana, why would you think that? Because I've done some research. And this is a 2022 case, hearing. And there's been, you can go back and search and you can see that Cyray and this Dr. Vladin Jovanovic. Okay. Well, I assumed it was routine. I had testified over 100 times in state and federal courts across 30 states. The foundation testimony for TRACS was something I could deliver in my sleep. I said yes without asking a single question about the underlying case. I have questions about that. That was my mistake, he says. Not the testimony I gave. Not the tool I built. The mistake was walking into a courtroom without demanding the full picture first. Well, who the fuck wouldn't do that? Come on now. Think about this. 3 days notice. I'm saying yes. I'm Cyree. Well, what you guys are looking at here is the first question on cross-examination is on page 25. You're testifying as to a product that you've developed, and it's important that this product be declared reliable, correct? You know, that's an interesting question. Okay, now think about this. Close your eyes. Think about every time that the custody queens ask Cyree a question, or Steve, or Olivia, or Brian. You know, that's an interesting question. Past a year ago, I would agree with you 100%. Kind of, I'm out of it. I'm on the tail end of this. I have other things I would like to go do in my life. And for lack of better term, I really don't have much of an interest in it anymore. I have other things to do. I've sold my company. I'm moving on. But at the same time, I received this call and I was asked to testify today. So I'm here. Okay. Well, wait, what was that question again? The question was, you're testifying as to a product that you've developed, and it's important that this product be declared reliable, correct? That's the answer. And I thought it was an interesting answer, because here we are. This was in 2022, right? And in August of 2022, there will be a ruling that comes in September of 2022. But then we get to October of 2023. And here he wants to do other things, you know? And it's like, well, here's October 2023. What happens? He gets involved in the Brian Kohberger case. Okay. So going back over here. Now, I assumed it was going to be routine, he said. Again, that was my mistake. Not the testimony I gave, not the tool I built. The mistake was walking into a courtroom without demanding the full picture first. I violated the principle this entire book exists to establish. No claim about a tool, a method, or a data stream is permitted from an incomplete data set. I denied myself the temporal picture. Everything that followed was the predictable consequence of that failure, and I own it. If I had reviewed the case file, I would have known the defendant was a UPS driver with a GPS tracked truck. None of that matters, what I came to realize. Because what this was about is about he's testifying to the reliability of what he himself built, okay? And in direct examination, which allowed Cyree to literally ramble on about and say all the things that he's accomplished. And what you really start getting into with all of this crap is this proprietary stance on it, the intellectual property, if you would. We can't give out our intellectual property, blah, blah. You hear people talk about that. So the other part that's missing here is, why did this person call Cyree, who didn't have anything to do with this case? Somebody else was going to be testifying to the tracks and what it did and blah, blah, blah. But here, Cyree, who is not going to be testifying in the trial itself, okay, he's testifying at a Daubert hearing. And if you think back, like the Massachusetts case that we just did with Karen Reed, I don't recall anybody coming in and testifying in a Daubert hearing that didn't testify in the proceeding. So again, this was not in a trial atmosphere. This was a hearing before the trial. Were you paid to testify today? I am not being paid to testify today. When LexisNexis purchased your product, what did they pay for it? Like, whoa, what a question. He says, I'm not going to release that. The judge, Mr. Christensen, says, who's one of the, is the attorney here, and he's like, judge? And then other guy said, I'll also object to relevance as to, because he was like, judge, he's not going to answer my question. You're going to instruct him to? And then the guy that asked Cyree to be there, he's like, I'll also object to relevance as to the purchase price of the ZX program for LexisNexis. Okay. So now going back over here to this book, he's saying if he would have reviewed the case file, he would have known that the defendant was a UPS driver with a GPS-tracked truck. I would have known that the defense had obtained the GPS data. I would have demanded it, run the comparison myself, and walked into the hearing with 30 days of cross-stream validation showing the tool worked exactly as I claimed. Instead, I walked in blind. The case itself was straightforward. The defendant was charged with stalking, violation of a protection order, and violation of bail bond conditions. The allegation, he had driven past his ex-fiance's apartment in violation of a protective order. Security footage captured a vehicle passing the apartment, a Toyota with a camper shell. The defendant drove a red Dodge Ram. The victim herself conceded the defendant's truck had no camper shell. That distinction matters. And I about fell over. Well, we've been saying over here, Brian Kohberger does not have fog lights. And Cyree is saying that fucking shit does not matter. So in this proceeding, he thought that it mattered that the Toyota with a camper shell, the defendant drove a red Dodge Ram. The victim herself conceded that the defendant's truck had no camper shell. That distinction matters. Before any digital evidence entered the picture, the physical evidence did not connect the defendant to the violation. Lana, what you doing, girl? Just hanging out. This is what I've been saying. I've been saying that I asked Cyree to put aside any of this fucking digital shit and to look at this case. Look at the evidence. Investigate this shit. Okay? We got people claiming to be the white fucking car circling, who's cops. We got a vehicle that has fog lights. His doesn't, right? And I'm over here reading to see how he believes to do things. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Because it's right here in black and white when I read that distinction matters. Before any digital evidence entered the picture, the physical evidence did not connect the defendant to the violation. The vehicle on camera was not his vehicle. Exactly. Just like in Brian Kohberger's case, the vehicle on camera is not his vehicle. Why? Well, because one knows that Brian Kohberger does not have fog lights. So when I hear him say on Custody Queen's interview, okay, Like I said, I was very prepared to interview Cyree. And regardless of our friendship, it doesn't, I'm doing a job. I'm doing my job, and I stand by my work. And I ask anybody to go out there and fucking say I'm wrong. Say I'm wrong about the police report number 10 issued by Jacob Tisdall. Wait till I'm about to bring out my chain of custody here with Anthony Dollinger, report 38, that I've blasted so many fucking times to say Anthony Dollinger could not have taken these products, aka these pieces of evidence, on November 18th to the lab because they didn't exist yet. Hannah, why are you focused on this? Well, because it's my understanding, the way that I've been listening to this all unfold, is that Cyree believes that Brian Kohberger is guilty, and that there's a different way to go about this, which is all admissible evidence. Because basically everything that they have right now is inadmissible. But Cyree said that, nope, this is how you're going to do it. And there's a official form, a report on 11/29 from WSU. And I'm saying that there is not. And that was part of the this probable cause lie. That's part of it. And I've gone and dug through, got the material. So much so that when I'm being reached out by somebody who is like, well, but Cy says this. I said, I don't give a fuck what Cy says. I'm telling you this right now. That fucking shit does not exist. And it doesn't. There is no formal report. Now, this vehicle on camera was not his vehicle. What connected him was not what was seen on the street. It was what it was inferred from a cell network. Law enforcement had obtained his cell call detail records and processed them through tracks, which identified cell towers his phone connected to. Towers that also provided coverage to the area around the victim's apartment. So Cyree, in this case, the prosecution goes out and gets a guy that does the tracks program, prosecution, to do the tracks program. And then Cyree, because the defense decides at the last minute that they're going to move to have all of this shit thrown out because it's unreliable data. And here's a perfect opportunity to show that the data does not line up to actually surveillance cameras. And remember what I said, why Cyree took this on is because of who was behind it. Who did the defense have? And the defense had Dr. Vladin Jovanovic. And that's somebody that Cyree has gone up against in 5 to 6 other times in other states. In this, Dr. Vladin Jovanovic has basically come out and talked about this program and how unreliable it is, and that, Cyree has been quoted at saying different things, that it's, at an 80% reliability, the mid 80s, so then it's the mid 90s, and now it's only on a 3% error rate. So all these things. So what I realized is I was like, okay, what truly went down here in Colorado? Because this was right before, and everybody and their mother came out after it was announced that Cyree was going to be working with the defense, right? And Cyree's never worked with the defense. Why would this ever happen? Okay. Well, I don't understand why Tom Slavinsky why this even needed to go Cyree's route when Tom Slavinsky, in my opinion, found it. But hey, we'll get there. So, just so you guys can understand that the defense, and I'm thinking this is a wild case, this is just a protective order violation, how the hell is Dr. Vladin Jovanovic involved in this? Well, because Vladovic Jovanovic, this dude's been following to show how unreliable this stuff is, allegedly. Supposedly, that's what I see. And so, going back to law enforcement had obtained his cell detail records and processed them through tracks. This is Cyree speaking out of his book, which identified cell towers his phone connected to. Towers that also provided coverage to the area around the victim's apartment. The result placed the defendant's phone in the general vicinity near every day across a 2-week period. But proximity on a cell network is not presence at a location. Exactly. A phone connecting to a tower that serves a particular address also serves every other address, business, and roadway within that tower's coverage footprint. Exactly. That distinction, proximity versus collision, is foundational to this book's framework. It was absent from the courtroom that day. Why? All that was asked upon Cyree that day was, we're going to talk about this process with how you develop this. And how I know that that's what this was about is because that's the scope that it only went to. And if you were to ask Cyree, put all bullshit aside, did you feel like you were walking into an ambush or something? Because again, it just goes back to it. Like, I would have to say, no, you weren't. Because you knew when someone's hitting you up to testify 3 days out, why would you ever accept that? Well, because he just told me that I'm testifying to the reliability of my program, right? Exactly. So then the lawyer or the judge was asking about where Cyree came up with this 0.97 that he's timesing. And we're going to get into that. So I testified about tracks in the abstract, he said, because that was all I had been given. I explained the algorithm, the drive testing methodology, the accuracy rate of 94 to 96% validated across approximately 3 million field tests. I had my credentials, 20 years in law enforcement, over 2,500 hours of experience with DRT systems, over 1,000 hours with Boeing, over 450 hours with Rohde and Schwartz. Now, we should know what that is all about when he wants to bring that up in the Brian Kohberger stuff. And this is him talking about all of this stuff because this is what builds this credible appearance. Okay, so yep, you have all these hours, you did all these things, awesome. But the question that we're asking here is what you built. What is this this algorithm? What is your scientific, equation to get this? And so what I did not have was a single piece of case-specific evidence. But that doesn't matter. The defense had 2 witnesses, Mark Foff, and a computer forensic practitioner with GPS records from the defendant's UPS truck showing that during one specific delivery, the GPS confirmed location fell approximately 1 mile outside of Trax's estimated coverage area. One data point from a 30-day data set. Prof had the full record. What does that have to do with what we're talking about? We're talking about the algorithm. We're talking about where is this 97 number coming from? And we're going to get to that. He selected the most extreme outlier from the approximate 3% of the GPS pings that fell outside the estimated coverage and presented it as though it represented the whole. And then here we go to the second person that testified for the defense. Vladan Jovanovic, who holds a doctorate in electrical engineering, testified that Trax was unreliable. Its radius overestimated by a factor of 4, its range by a factor of 3. He had published a paper in IEEE Access calling Trax a quote-unquote profoundly flawed practice. His claims carried the structural authority of academic credentials and formal publication. They were never tested against the 30-day data set sitting in the defense's files during the hearing. On its face, the presentation looked lopsided. One side had peer-reviewed paper and a GPS data point showing the tool missed by a mile. The other side had me, an associate's degree and no case-specific data. What happened next followed the logic of that imbalance. And see here, this is where everybody needs to understand something. This is where he takes his book, and it's like, wait a second, you weren't testifying. When did he testify in a trial? This is testifying to the reliability of tracks. So, going back over here, the court, I didn't want to get into the business side of things, so I'll sustain it. Question. Your mission that's shown on the ZX website is tracks was invented by cops with real-world experience, right? Correct. And it's in support of law enforcement agencies across the nation. I would agree with that as well. How many law enforcement subscribers are there? Law enforcement, probably, I haven't looked recently. I'd say around 700. And when I say law enforcement, it will also include district attorneys, U.S. attorneys, arson investigators. Okay. And the declaration of unreliability would damage your reputation with 700 law enforcement agencies, correct? Well, I would think at this point, we just for some numbers here, our system has mapped for over 2 billion phone calls. What's the question? And the declaration of unreliable would damage your reputation with 700 law enforcement agencies, correct? Again, it's just basically like, I think they would have found out if it's unreliable right here. The question is, this is the answer basically. As well, I think that unreliability would probably have been discovered long before now. Well, question. Well, you said that it's been declared to be reliable in the state of Colorado, is that right? There's multiple cases in Colorado where this mapping has been admitted as reliable. And what cases are those? I can tell you the counties. I don't know that I can. You have to understand I've testified to a lot of cases, and I was kind of brought into this case at the last minute, so I'm not going to be able to rattle off names. They're the county close to Fort Collins. There's Greeley. So we go back and forth with this. Question. They talk about the Spinney case right here. It is your testimony that in the Finney case, the court found that Trax was reliable technology. In my testimony, if we're going to talk specifically about that case, there was a challenge on the accuracy of what's called NELOS data from AT&T and how we mapped it using, and then there was this auto glitch for 8 seconds. So he had to repeat this because he was on WebEx, okay, like he was on Zoom. And the judge says, the suspense is killing me. Mr. Ray, you're going to have to repeat what you just said. We got cut off. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. I'm sorry about that. And then so he says, yes, in that case, I had a Shrek hearing. And what was being challenged was the NELOS data, which is produced by AT&T, as well as the Trax platform in mapping that NELOS data. And in the transcript question, it would show a finding by the court in that case that Trax and ZX are reliable. I haven't reviewed the transcript, so I can't say what's in the transcript, but what I can tell you is that there was a Shrek challenge to that, and the courts found that it was accurate, and the Trax program was used to display or visualize the AT&T records in the case in court. And says, and in which there was a conviction. And your testimony under oath is that hearing was not a Shrek hearing as the NELOS data alone, I think if you go through the transcripts of the Shrek hearing, you will see that the Nelos data was challenged, but also the ability to map that data in the Trex platform. That was a big part of the Shrek hearing, was the way that we mapped the data as well. Okay, now, so the most revealing exchange occurred when Judge Juan G. Villaseñor, or whatever the fuck his last name is, questioned me directly about the Trex algorithm. So they go back and forth on all of this shit, which we're going to get into way later. But, so Cyree was asked, question, and you'd be able to provide counsel with those other cases in the state of Colorado where Trex was found to be reliable, specifically by a court, correct? I can try. I don't know that I'm going to waste a bunch of time researching those cases. I can go back and give you the agencies that we assisted, and I'm sure somebody can piece them together. When I say Trex to you, not all of this will be my testimony. It's other testimony from other people. So before I can commit to running down every case in Colorado, I would need to follow up on that more. You're trying to convince the court that this is found to be reliable in the state of Colorado. And I'm just trying to check your testimony as to that by finding out in which cases it was found. I understand that's why I listed the specific locations in which this happened. I didn't know that I would need to provide these cases today, or I would have absolutely done a better job in doing so. What I can tell you is that my knowledge, like his knowledge of challenging anything, is to our product in the state of Colorado, and I have knowledge that those challenges were found to be scientifically admissible when the testimony came in. Question: did Dr. Jovanovic testify in any of those cases? In those Colorado cases, basically. I've only been involved, let me think for a minute. I've been involved with Jovanovic's testimony or report, and I want to be careful with saying testimony because more of my involvement would have been either a report that he'll generate or potentially in a hearing like this. I think a total of 5 times: California, New York, Michigan, and I think that's all the states. I don't believe I was anything from Mr. Jovanovic in Colorado, but I don't know if he's consulted on cases or not. You'd have to ask him. And so right there, specifically talking about Jovanovic. So right here, you should be like thinking what Lana just told me. Jovanovic. Cyree. Oh, this is what you're talking about. Why did Cyree agree to do this? What came first? Well, the defense put a motion and filed and had Jovanovic's shit. Okay. And then Cyree saw that, okay, yeah, I want to go up against him. This guy's been a little pest. He's been peeping all my shit. He's been trying to fucking blow up my spot. Fuck yeah, let's go. That's what I see. So, now, that doesn't come out in the book, this little friendly rivalry. Instead, he's saying that the most revealing exchange occurred when the judge, so after, which I said I'll get into more of that later, but when the judge asks, okay. Okay, right here. As Cyree says in his book, he said, go to these pages. He's saying, at the core of Trex is a mathematical step. So he says, after the algorithm calculates the average distance to the 3 nearest neighboring cell sites within a tower's directional cone, it multiplies that average by a specific value, which is 0.97. to produce its estimated coverage range. The judge wanted to know where that number came from, and that's exactly right. Right here, the judge says, you know what, I have some questions for Mr. Ray. Mr. Ray, how did you come up with that formula? So for lack of better term, we started looking at just the single closest cell site, and we found that there really is no reliable way to predict estimated coverage ranges using just the next closest cell site. We've gone out and looked at as many as 10 closest cell sites. And essentially, what we're trying to do is we're trying to determine how tower density of the next handoff, the tower density of the next handoff area is. Essentially, how far do I have to travel away from one cell site before I can get to another cell site or hand off to another cell site? And that's primarily controlled by tower density. Okay? And now if you compare this to the Brian Kohberger case, remember this, all these handoffs that were not mapped between 247 and some change into 254. Okay? So we're going to go back over to this book. And he says, the judge wanted to know where this 0.97 came from. So the judge says here, oh, okay, gotcha. The witness then continues. So over the years, by tower density, yeah. So over the years, we've tried multiple different versions of this formula and then double-checked or cross-checked our accuracy with drive test data. This is all reverse engineered, is what this is. And this is the one that we landed on that gave us the most accurate estimations based on the drive testing. So was it basically a trial and error process that you would go on the ground and drive around? You would pick a cell and an antenna and drive around? That's correct. And then we would, or instead, probably a better way to think of it, is that we would pick 10 different antennas, and if all of having somewhat of a different shape because of the density that each is associated with, and how could have break down the differences between number 1 and number 8, number 7 and number 6, and then that's where looking at this, the density, and coming up with the algorithm gave us the most accurate results. Remember, because this is just estimations. Okay. Okay, says the court. And so what mathematical principles do you use to come up with that formula? What mathematical principles? That's the great part, he says. It's actually very simple. We look at the tower density, which is determined by the cell sites that are within the proximity of the azimuth of the target cell site. We look at the averages of how far away those cell sites are, which is what impacts the density. And then we cross-reference that with our results from the drive test, which is that 0.97 factor. The court says, did you consult with any engineers, radio frequency engineers, about your formula? Not specifically on the formula. We have consulted with a lot of radio frequency engineers on the shape, if you will, of how we use it and how we're sizing it. There are a handful that are aware of the formula. I've worked with quite a few engineers, specifically with Roden Schwartz, where we demonstrated what we're doing. There's actually an appetite to replicate this in Europe. So I've worked with the engineers at Roden Schwartz to actually discuss how to do that. Now, In his book, I explained it the only way it could be explained from data. My team and I tested multipliers ranging from 0.87 to 1.6 against approximately 3 million real-world drive tests. Physical measurements of where phones actually connect to and disconnect from towers. The value 0.97 produced the most accurate replication of what those drive tests measured in the field. Below 0.97, estimates ran too small. Above it, too large. It was the point where the model best matched observed reality across millions of observations. Until it goes up against what? A camera. Until it goes up against a camera, is my guess. A camera. But I don't know. So the judge wanted something different. He drew on an analogy to Einstein's equation of E equals mc squared, pressing me to identify what principle the 0.97 constant represented. Not what it did when applied to data, but what it meant within the physics of RF when they propagation of it. So the question was a category error. The judge was demanding theoretical derivations from a tool built on empirical validations, asking a data-driven constant to justify itself the way a physical constant does. The speed of light is derived from the laws of physics. The 0.97 multiplier is derived from 3 million measurements of the physical world. And so basically, in and of itself, we reverse engineered this. And so when he said earlier that they were able to find one data point because the GPS records from the defendant's UPS truck showing that during one specific delivery, the GPS confirmed location fell approximately 1 mile outside Trex's estimated coverage area. One data point. Well, isn't that's all that it would need to fuck up anything? From a 30-day data set. This dude had the full record. He selected the most extreme outlier from the approximate 3% of GPS pings that fell outside the estimated coverage and presented it as though it represented the whole. But no, I would just be saying that it was wrong, wasn't it? But how did it become wrong on that one data point? That would be my question. I don't understand how that happened. I mean, when we're talking about a coverage area, how is it going outside of that circle? Anyways, so again, this 0.97 multiplier is derived from 3 million measurements of the physical world. These are not the same kind of knowledge, and the judge's analogy revealed that he had already decided which kind counted. How did the judge already assign that, though? He just asked a question. The absence of theory meant the absence of science. The presence of 3 million confirming data points meant nothing. Well, no, it just meant that it confirmed that it was inside this area, but it's not. And you know how big these areas are? Because we're not talking about GPS here. We're talking about when you want to say that you're going to use this type of shit to say somebody's path of travel, and then you compare it to the actual, I don't know, cameras in the area, and none of the cameras support it. What's up, T? The exchange reached its sharpest point on page 43 through 49 of the transcript. The judge asked me directly, "Do you not see how that's a problem, sir?" I told him I did not, because the constant could be replicated, taken into the field, and tested by anyone. It was a specific number, tested daily, found to stay reliable. That answer was correct. It meant every definition of empirical science: testable, replicable, falsifiable, open to independent verification. It did not meet the definition the judge had decided applied. On September 20th, 2022, Judge, whatever this dude's name is, issued his ruling excluding all Track's derivative evidence. He found me, quote unquote, not credible. Now, I went and pulled in 2016, not 2016, 2000 and, what's this from? 2021. Here's a different case, okay? And in this case, it's just really interesting because people are finding Cyray to be, you need to see this. This is the judge from a totally different case a year before. And look at whose name pops up. Dr. Vladan Jovanovic. The court held a hearing that began on July 23rd, 2021 and continued on August 16th, 2021. Cyray, the developer of Track software, testified on both dates. Detective, whoever the fuck this is, testified at the July hearing. Dr. Vladan Jovanovic testified at the August hearing. The court allowed both parties to file supplemental briefs, but only defendant did. Cyray did not file a fucking brief. Well, I mean, the state didn't, okay? Jovanovic's for the defense. Now, you need to see how this judge, okay. The defendant's motion raised two issues. First, the defendant questioned whether detective reliably applied the Track software to the data available in this case, as required by Rule 702. And then the second thing was right here. The bulk of defendant's main focus on whether the Track software is reliable method as required by Rule 702C. The ultimate inquiry here is whether it's the court's derivative or it's the discretion. It finds that software is reliable principle or method. As noted above, 4 factors help guide this analysis. And the first thing is testability. Tracks can be tested. Ray testified that the software's results can be tested with drive testing, which verifies the handoff range of each cell tower. So you best believe that the FBI is not standing by what Ray is saying in Brian Kohberger's case with his handoffs, I bet. Further, Ray and his team have gone into the field and made phone calls to verify that a phone in a certain location will connect to a certain tower. Dr. Jovanovic testified that drive testing has limits which make it less accurate, but as the circuit recently held, this testimony goes to the adequacy of the testing, which is fodder for cross-examination rather than a reason to exclude the evidence. So it's like, bring that shit up in cross-examination, right? Okay. Next is peer review. Now, this is what's crazy for me. This has never been peer reviewed, but Cyray peer reviewed Tom Slavinsky's work. How? Drive tests. So peer review is a key measurement of reliability. And here, Ray testified that Trax has been peer reviewed by Dr. whatever the fuck this dude's name is, in the book Mobile Network Forensics, see blah, blah, blah. Having read the expert of mobile network forensics provided by the defendant, the court concludes that it is not a scientific peer review. The book itself appears to be a general overview of its subject matter. Trax is discussed for only 5 pages in a chapter that covers several analytical methods. It is reviewed as an example processing tool. The book discusses the functions contained in the TRAX software, but it does not evaluate the software's algorithm or its proprietary method of placing and mapping cell sectors. It is not apparent to the court that TRAX submitted its theories and supporting data for review. Rather, TRAX appears to have simply given the author access to TRAX as data processing tool. So basically it's like, no, this was never peer reviewed. And so therefore, it says it right there. Then you move to the error rate. Now, the court analysis of the factor is limited by the record. So right here, TRAX had an error rate of 3%. The defendant argues that the court cannot trust Ray's proffered accuracy rate. But while Dr. Jovanovic testified that TRAX is not anywhere near this accurate, Dr. Jovanovic did not offer a competing accurate rate. Accordingly, Dr. Jovanovic's mere assertion does not undermine Ray's testimony on the subject. So then you're just getting into here, like, you didn't provide anything, so whatever. The court says, this is a close call. Ray was a compelling witness. But there is no supporting evidence that substantiates the 95% accuracy rate, nor is there any scientific basis for increasing or decreasing that 95%. On the other hand, the court doesn't even have a ballpark estimate from Dr. Jovanovic about how low the accuracy rate might be. On balance, the court finds Ray a compelling witness. Do you understand what that means? You want to know what this really truly means? What type of people are compelling? Wait a second here. I love this question. Yes. Yes. Ready? You're absolutely wild if you think that this book existed fucking 4 years ago. Cy just produced this book. Okay? Number one. So is asking why Lana sat on this info. Lana sat on what info? Lana sat on what info? Lana has literally been working around the clock here to gather up and look through something. So about Cy Ray while pumping his tires for 4 years. Who was pumping tires for 4 years? Who was pumping tires for 4 years? Lana said that the PCA was a complete fabrication. Cy Ray says the same thing and has not changed on that at all. Why? Because the phone didn't shut off at that time. I didn't realize that Cy Ray came out and said everything he just said the past 48 hours, 52, 72 hours. You act like you're an absolute fucking moron. It's a pretty reasonable question. No, actually, it's a stupid fucking question. You want to know why? Because you cannot back that up. Go take your little name and your little channel. Show me where I was pumping anybody's fucking dick full of lead. Okay? All we witnessed the past 72 hours is a grown man blow off his dick. And if he wants to blow off his dick and shoot his career off in the fucking to oblivion, okay? There's a book that just came out. Absolute fucking moron. And what a fucking name. Block everyone. What a pussy. No one needs to block shit. We let it all ride here until you attack people in chat. So there you go. You like that shit? Take it. Smoke it. Lie, lie, lie. You always knew we all did all public info. What are you fucking talking about? I wasn't over here hamster wheeling it. I'm over here actually investigating the fucking case. I was over here providing a ton of information not asking somebody questions that would violate a fucking NDA. The fuck's wrong with you? And guess what? I can stand on that shit. Come get all my fucking cellular shit. I got integrity over here. I don't fucking ask people questions. I'm not pumping shit about anything. These are questions about the accuracy of something. This is also over here somebody that's really talking out of both sides of their fucking mouth. And until this book was produced, you don't know what Cyray's saying. Then you have to take this book and then go digging for, oh, I didn't realize people were putting out the Duke Law online opinion that just came out in 2025. I didn't realize that was out there. I'm so sorry. What a bunch of idiots. But there you go. Take that. Ain't fucking no reason to lie. Nothing to lie about. We're over here looking for the truth, okay? And that starts with investigating this case from the beginning. You can take all this fucking digital shit, doesn't mean dick, until you can actually get past what the police claim, that they're the white car, and a whole bunch of other shit. They don't even know when the fuck people got home. So, yeah. I love it. Today, is today a Monday? Yeah. Anyways. But you can go be disruptive somewhere else now. Like I said, use your channel. Go make some videos. Okay. Now in this book, leading up to this next chapter here, the judge said he found me not credible. A major basis for the finding was that his characterization that I had inflated my credentials, that I had, in his words, claimed to be more of an engineer than an engineer. The judge placed that phrase inside quotation marks in legal writing, quotation marks around attributed speech meaning one thing. These are the words the witness said. Or what he said. The reader of the ruling is meant to understand that I made that claim in the language on the record under oath. I did not. Those words do not appear in the transcript, not on any page, not on any form. Not during direct examination, not during cross-examination, not during the judge's own questioning. Something that's similar said, which is that, so what was said is documented on pages 34 through 35 of the certified transcript, which I went ahead and got. Every reader of this book is entitled to see the actual exchange. Defense attorney Christensen asked, "Do you have a degree in engineering at all?" I answered, "I do not have a degree in engineering." That's exactly what happened. He pressed, "You're not an engineer?" I responded, "I would argue that I have a really good competency and working knowledge of engineering principles, specifically to radio frequency, probably more so than a lot of radio frequency engineers." But let me explain something to you guys. None of this fucking shit does it matter. What was asked is about this reliability of the TRACS program, which is what law enforcement has been using. Law enforcement has been using this. Law enforcement has been using this. Not defense. Defense attorneys aren't using this. Defense experts aren't using this, right? This is what this program is being used by, he says, 700, agencies. And my question is, wow, do we have any way possible in our hands that some of this shit was actually not what it said it was? And what I wanted to look deep into is that, who's this Dr. Vladin Jovanovic? Because he's been really, really outspoken about and for what Cyray was, this program. And when I had said to Cyray once, I said, it comes down to a battle of the experts. And he said, no, it's not ever that. And don't ever say that, because that's not what it is. And I said, well, yeah, it is, because evidence doesn't matter when you can be compelling, right? Like, how can the evidence just not speak for itself, right? Well, when someone's so compelling and about lying about the evidence, it's just so compelling. And they talk like they know all of this shit. That's what a used car salesman does, right? So it's also on who can testify to what kind of experts, when you're going to deem somebody an expert. And when you hear that, oh, this person created this, ooh, you know what I mean? It's the same thing like, ooh, they're an FBI agent. You know, as a defendant, you're sitting in a chair and you're going up against what? How do you combat that? How do you combat that as a defendant, right? And then somebody should ask themselves this, which is, the judge further found that the 0.97 constant was not grounded in RF principles, that my drive testing methodology was confirmation biased and completely unscientific, that the scientific community had rejected Trax's methods. When the ruling was published, it was devastating. Not because I thought the judge was right, because I knew I had given him the room to be wrong. Then I obtained the GPS data. The full 30-day cross-stream analysis GPS confirmed positions from the defendant's UPS truck compared against the CDR connections maps through Trax, evaluated across the entire available temporal window, produced a 97% accuracy rate. Again, this is, that number exceeded my own testimony. I had claimed 94 to 96%. The actual data showed I was conservative. The 0.97 constant, the value the judge dismissed as theoretically ungrounded, held against independent cross-stream validation. Jovanovic's published criticisms did not survive the full data set. The single GPS data point defense presented was an outlier within a record that overwhelmingly validated the tool. But here is what matters more than the accuracy number. What every investigator, prosecutor, defense attorney, and judge reading this needs to stop and absorb. The defendant was a UPS driver. He drove the same routes, through the same coverage areas, past the same cell towers every working day. The full temporal window did not just validate the tool's accuracy, it revealed the meaning of the data. The Trax data showed his phone near the victim's apartment repeatedly, not because he was stalking anyone, but because he was doing his job. Proximity was not collision. Presence in a coverage area was not presence at a location. The pattern was a delivery route, not a crime. And this is where blocked your dick off, okay, is an absolute fucking idiot. Because Cy Ray is 1000% right here. Because you cannot just, the data just doesn't stand alone. What's the person's pattern of behavior? This doesn't make you a killer. This doesn't make you a stalker. This doesn't make you shit. What the fuck's truly going on here? Oh, somebody's pattern of behavior. And this is what Cy Ray, in my opinion, set out what I thought was to testify to someone's pattern of behavior in the Brian Kohberger case, which is somebody driving at night at all hours, randomly, fucking all over, right? And here, the bigger thing is that the FBI and Moscow Police Department knew that they were lying when they said that the phone stopped connecting at 2:47. And so what I thought would take place is, if you're going to lie about that, what else are we fucking lying about? Okay? What else are we lying about? And there's a shit ton. And there's an absolute shit ton. And so one would have to start from the beginning and ask themselves that this isn't just the FBI lying about what time a phone shut off. Moscow Police Department started lying way before the FBI and Moscow colluded to write up an affidavit that was lies. And why isn't that matter for someone like Cy Ray, who literally just wrote this fucking book? You cannot sit here and say that they had tunnel vision from BK at the jump. That's incorrect. Okay? You have to start from the beginning, which is, why did somebody lie named Jacob Tisdall on the night of the fucking murders about what he was doing and where he was in a report that he authored on 11/15 at 1:30 in the morning? So it's basically like 11:14. You know, that's because it's just becoming 11:15. Why? Everything that the government relied upon to create probable cause against Brian Kohberger is a fucking lie. That means everything is fruit of the poisonous tree. And Cy Ray is banking, this is why I said I think he blew off his dick, is because he's banking on a report on 11/29/2022 from WSU that does not exist. And he's thinking that that is still the way in, because that piece of evidence doesn't get tossed. That isn't fruit of the poisonous tree. There is no official report. That was just another lie in the probable cause affidavit. It's very simple when you go and get the material and you look at it. Unless Cy Ray was given the timing advance records from Boyd Jackson or from somebody else, and that he actually has what existed and the government buried, because what it proves is that they had no probable cause. And they knew that because when they got the timing advance back and what they wrote, after they got the timing advance of the first 48-hour set, because that shit's like GPS. And so everything that came from the arrest warrant, which was his DNA, is tossed. That means what Olivia wasn't understanding is that, and Cy Ray kind of just sat there and he needs to say to the family, because they deserve to know, is that, yeah, no, everything that came from that probable cause, all those search warrants, everything that came from those lies, take them, throw them in the garbage can. Because you're not getting any of those. None of that. You are sitting there with a white car that's circling, that you have a cop claiming that's his. And you have what you thought was, here, we can build a... I don't know why Cy Ray is talking about building anything with Brian's actual phone information, because none of that will be admissible. Because you don't have Brian's historical records. You're unable to use those ever. So I don't understand that. Why are you saying that you can get Brian by actually go map the data that you have? Go map all that data and you're going to see what you have. Well, it doesn't matter if they go map all that fucking data. Because you didn't, how did you get that data? How did you get his historical records over a 6-month period? That came when? All of that goes. You can't use any of that in court. I believe that they're playing with a very fucking it's very dangerous with what they're doing. But based on this case, if Cy Ray is to take his own, words, and if he uses a different case where a younger girl duped him and said that she was raped by her ex, Why can't people dupe people? Why couldn't Dylan or Bethany be duping you at all? Or anybody for that matter who has been interviewed. It's in his own book. He was duped. And it was by I think she was 19, a young female. The tool the judge excluded as unreliable would have cleared the defendant. How is he saying the tool is going to be used would have cleared the defendant? The charges were ultimately dropped. But here in this book, he says the tool the judge excluded as unreliable would have cleared the defendant. The charges were ultimately dropped. The evidence was 100% exculpatory. No, you have to have somebody that's going to testify to that. The behavioral part of it. But how does it not look like that he's stalking? Isn't the GPS data is what I would think is exculpatory. Because the truck was GPS. And it shows that he was never once by the fucking girl's house. How does that have anything to do with his shit? I'm just saying. Because couldn't he also, anybody that was going to testify to this shit, couldn't you make it inculpatory? If you didn't have GPS? What if the GPS data didn't exist? So if everything was dropped, the defense won. But the deeper problem in this, but the deeper problem is not that the judge excluded a reliable tool. The deeper problem is that the state was never required to demonstrate reliability from a temporal sufficient data set before the claim entered the courtroom. Exactly, and it's the same thing in the Brian Kohberger case. And unless you have GPS of Brian Kohberger on the night of the murder and you're not turning it over, because there is no data, the phone was shut off. Come forward and say that there's data that's GPS somehow. The burden falls entirely on the proponent. In a Schreck hearing, as in any Daubert proceeding, the state must establish scientific validity before the court accepts the methodology. The defense is not required to disprove anything. Below the temporal threshold, the claim is not unreliable. It is unscientific, and an unscientific claim does not enter. So here, let me explain something to you guys. For years upon years upon years, defense experts have been so fucking, handicapped, okay? Because everything is only training law enforcement. You know, if you want to go into this field to be an expert, right? Well, you don't get the same type of training. You don't get to have these classes and get this material and learn this and do that and blah, blah, blah. There's very few and far between that you can go out there, and that's why you see a lot of people that were in law enforcement at one point, okay? And then they go off on their own and become a defense, or say an expert in their field. How is that? Think about that. Think about that. The defense's single-point GPS challenge succeeded not because it was methodologically sound, but because the state had provided no framework within its own claim could be evaluated. Into that vacuum, theater works as well as evidence, or as science, rather. You want to know what I see? I see in that case, the state brought forward stalking charges. Okay? And this Jovanovic guy, how did he even know about this case? Like a stalking case that is from a protective order? Think about that. It seems like somebody's watching when and how Trax is being testified to. The same way that I think Cyree was watching and seeing how Cass is being testified to. And so this whole time, if you ever think that the FBI and Cyree, I think they've always been main competitors of each other. Now, $11.5. People vs. Jones demonstrated what happens when no standard exists and no one brings one. The court has no temporal framework. The defense cherry-picked one data point. No, the defense was right based off GPS. And it wanted to point out that that when you compare GPS to Trax, it's what it could seem like if you're just going to testify to these areas that it's no different than Brian Kohberger case. You're not testifying to an exact location. You're testifying, and that's why in his report, how he testified for the defense, what it seems like, he wanted to show how he could be used as a defense expert and what. This is really, really fucking diabolical, if you ask me. The court had no temporal framework. The defense cherry-picked one data point. The prosecution failed to present the full data set. The judge had no mechanisms to demand it. Everyone failed because the guardrails did not exist. What do you mean everyone failed here? The charges got dropped. They were dismissed because the GPS showed what? And he was driving his GPS route with his job. The Kohberger investigation demonstrates something worse. Someone brought the framework. The court rejected it. Not because the framework was tested and found wanting, but because the court lacked the technical literacy to evaluate what was being offered. And in that rejection, the court did not merely fail to adopt a standard, it created a precedent for dismissing one. Every failure mode this chapter has diagnosed, the absence of temporal sufficiency, the violation of holistic examination, the collapse of cross-stream validation, the judicial gap in evaluating digital evidence, convergence in a single case, simultaneously on the record with receipts. And the failures do not merely compound. They reinforce each other. Each one makes the next one easier for the system to commit and harder for anyone to challenge. And then this is where you get this chapter of, here is what happened in this case, he says, in the Brian Kohberger case. And why this is important is because if who's ever representing Brian Kohberger moving forward, you might want to take a look at page 259. The structural failures in the Kohberger investigation's cellular evidence handling did not begin with a motion in limine in 2025. You're goddamn right it didn't. They began in December of 2022, and I call bullshit. It did not. It began in November. In the hours after investigators obtained 48 hours of AT&T call detail records for Brian Kohberger's phone. Yeah, when you just want to talk about the digitals, sure. Because guess what the first 48 hours showed? They couldn't have moved. They should not have been able to go and get anything else. You want to know why? Because they lied to go and get more. which is everything that Cy is using after the plea deal, apparently, to overlay and map out everybody. But the initial probable cause affidavit asserted that Brian Kohberger's phone stopped reporting the network at approximately 2:47 a.m. That characterization, consistent with the device being powered off or entering an area without cellular coverage, became foundational. It was repeated across search warrants, sworn testimony reports, and investigative summaries for years. It functioned as a fixed temporal anchor for the sequence of events that the prosecution constructed. Why does he want to do word salad right there? All you have to say is, that characterization is false, period. It's somebody is lying. This isn't a fucking broke system. People are lying. The AT&T records did not support that characterization. The call detail records for the 2:47 a.m. connection event includes a duration field of 7 minutes and 16 seconds. The duration field is not an ancillary metadata. It is the mechanism AT&T uses to report how long a device remains actively connected to the network following the initiating event, the time on tower. During that interval, the device generated additional network handoffs, demonstrating it remained actively connected to the AT&T network. The device connected to a cell site that investigators had already characterized elsewhere in the record as consistent with being at or near the Kohberger residence. Right? Awesome. Great. Then we get into timing advanced. Timing advanced data is not merely a more precise location estimate. It is the empirical ground truth of the cellular network itself. So this is why I believe that they've always had the timing advance of Brian Kohberger, because of them saying down the road that he was at or near the house on blank amount of occasions, and that all had to, like, everything that Steve Gonsalves was putting out back in the day, it was coming from somebody. It was coming from somebody that saw those fucking records, okay, and that told him that. Then he goes out and tells people that. What that then is saying is that those timing advance records exist, in my opinion. Because how else would you have that? I think somebody did map the data. But if they claim that they had the timing advanced, they're then going to show that what the timing advance showed for the first 48 hours proved the lies in the probable cause. And that's why they've had to bury that. That is how this all happened. And Cy knows it. The timing advance data is the single most powerful tool for validating or invalidating the coverage maps on which cellular location evidence depends. If FBI CAS presented coverage areas for the towers in Moscow-Pullman corridor, timing advance data from the connections to those towers reveal whether those coverage areas are accurate or whether they are undersized, oversized, mishappen, or wrong. It is the drive test that the investigators did not have to drive. And so what they did is they said, we're going to make sure it shuts off right here, and we're not going to map the rest of this because the phone and the phone and the car aren't moving together. But guess what? We can go one step further back. It's not a car with fog lights. And that's where Cy in his book says the same thing with this dude in the Jones case is driving, or maybe it wasn't, what case was it? Oh yeah, the camper over top. And he's saying that that's important. And this is no different. But in this case, he's saying it's superficial. It doesn't matter. Like it's irrelevant. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's what you're saying here in chapter 11, that it matters. And you don't even have to go, like, the victim is over here saying that, yeah, that's not his I mean, what the hell? The Kohberger investigation possesses 6 months of call detail records for Brian Kohberger's phone. That temporal depth is substantial, but CDRs without ground truth coverage area are tower identifiers and timestamps sitting on top of assumptions about what those tower connections mean geographically. Without the validation of the coverage maps, every location drawn from those CDRs inherits the uncertainty of the underlying assumptions. Timing advanced data is what converts assumption into measurement. And then I'm over here like, what the fuck? Does the track software have something in it? If timing advanced data existed in December of 2022, which would have fallen squarely within the 7-day retention window when the warrant was executed on December 23rd, 2022, that data would still validate or invalidate every coverage assumption on which the prosecution's cellular analysis rests. What he means is by going and getting those regardless of this, like how far back you're going to, it's going to give you the maps. So you would go and get those for the pure sake of having the map. But they can't even go and get those because the maps will not match what the fucking FBI did. I'm trying to make this all make sense to you, for everybody. To understand that what I kept questioning to say is, how can you be so sure that Brian Kohberger did this after you sit down and you see what the fuck they did with this? How are you then just able to say, why aren't you saying to yourself, and this is where Brent Turvey comes in for me, is, okay, this needs to be all, we need to look at everything from the beginning. And why wasn't that done? He's saying that the FBI understood this, and this is why they asked for the timing advanced. The request, the FBI specifically instructed investigators to request timing advanced data. FBI CAS provided the warrant template containing the timing advanced language. The investigators used that template. A magistrate judge reviewed the application, found the probable cause, and authorized the warrant, including explicitly the collection of timing advanced and or true call or other information tending to reveal the proximate or precise location of the device. Once the warrant was issued, the FBI submitted a CALEA compliance form to AT&T, specifically requesting the last 7 days of timing advanced data. The form included delivery instructions, email addresses where the data was sent to be. The warrant was authorized. The request was made. The FBI, the subject matter experts who designed the request, knew what they were asking for and why they were asking for it. The warrant return. The legal document filed with the issuing court documented what was obtained in response to the warrant. States that records were received, not records partially received, not records received, timing advanced data not available, but just records received. The motion. Cyrey says that 2 years later, on February 24, 2025, the state of Idaho filed a motion in limine seeking to prohibit the defense from making any reference to the absence of timing advanced records for Brian Kohberger. The state's argument was straightforward. AT&T records are produced by their global legal demand center. AT&T GLDC did not begin producing timing advanced records until May of 2023. All records for defendant's phone were obtained from GLDC in December of 2022. That was the argument, that GLDC did not produce timing advanced records yet, therefore they did not exist. The defense expert working in the field of call detail records analysis for over 25 years, having obtained his first AT&T records in 1997, having spent 20 years in law enforcement, having testified in over 100 proceedings in state and federal courts across 30 states, prepared an affidavit responding to the state's argument as filed. My question is why? Why wasn't that done in a suppression hearing? You guys knew that you guys didn't have that shit in January of 2025. Why wouldn't you try to suppress during the suppression hearings? Why aren't you using this as to show that they buried the timing advance records? Because it showed that the phone in the car were not moving in concert. But did you all, and then, you're over here talking about you have the camera and it's going the wrong way, but you're going to sit here and sit down and tell me that not anybody on your team figured out that there was no fucking fog lights on that fucking car? Because that's what it tells me. The affidavit documented that the FBI had obtained timing advance records from AT&T for over 3,800 devices in the Kohberger investigation because they did the tower dumps. The affidavit brought receipts, he says, in his book. And I have to say, his affidavit did not bring receipts. His affidavit made claims. There was nothing that was attached with any... What you're supposed to bring with your affidavit with that motion is that's where you do bring the receipts. According to Cy Ray, him making these claims were the receipts. I'm mind blown from that. The affidavit brought receipts, he says. It brought documentation. It brought the operational knowledge of someone who has navigated AT&T's compliance architecture for a quarter of a century. It addressed the state's argument, the argument that actually existed when the affidavit was written. Why didn't Ann Taylor say that? Now listen to this, ready? Why wouldn't that have been one of Ann Taylor's arguments? To say, Your Honor, so what I've always said here is listen to this. So when the state filed their motion in February 2025, on the 24th of February, Cy Ray wrote up his shit, signed it, got stamped, and then it goes and gets to Ann, and then she files that on March 24th, which is 1 month after the original motion. The state filed a reply. The argument changed. So this is how it looks on paper. And so Cy's like, I am filling out and making my affidavit, and then they file something on March 24th, 2025. Why on March 26th is Ann Taylor filing the defense experts? Why wouldn't she say, hey, this is just what got filed? And then, who made this stupid ass fucking decision to say, well, the judge is going to see that I fucking wrote that before they changed their argument, aren't they? Why wouldn't you... I want to know who told Ann Taylor, or if she took it upon herself to file on March 26th, Cy Ray's affidavit that does not then talk about the 7 days. Because how it would look to the filing is that you knowingly filed an affidavit that didn't address that. So this is just another, I think, example of ineffective assistance of fucking counsel. And that, so wouldn't there be emails between Cy Ray and Ann Taylor? And Ann Taylor either informing Ray that, hey, they just filed this, and it'd be sent over. And him saying, well, go ahead and just file that, and then will respond. Or and if Brian Kohberger waives client attorney privilege, right? All of this shit's going to come out. Well, I mean, it should. We're talking about ineffective assistance of counsel. We're talking about what the fuck is going on here. And here a guy, because I've always said, I said, why, if you guys are playing the long game, right? You aren't going to be bringing up any of this until trial. So you decided it was a strategic move to not bring this up in a motion to suppress the evidence and to show all of this shit and show how this is a Brady violation. But at the very least, if it's not a Brady violation, it's at least you guys lied in this. Like, why wasn't Cyree used as a witness in a suppression hearing to suppress all of this shit? Why wasn't Cyree used to get a Frank's hearing outside of just the IGG shit? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. And they can say all they want, because listen, they can say it was strategic because we want the defense. If you use these records, it's way worse for the prosecution because then we can show what they did, okay? Yes and no. You're wrong. Because you want to still go for the suppression because of the 448 time. That would never have been seen by the jury. His phone turning back on at 448, just so we're clear, if the right thing was to happen here and the suppression happens and this stuff gets tossed because of you guys lied in this probable cause, holy shit, all of this stuff goes. That's the most damaging thing, in my opinion, against Brian Kohberger is the 448 turning on the phone. That would never be seen. And so therefore, my opinion is that your best play is to go that route. And then if it doesn't get suppressed, then you're obviously going to show what the hell these people did and, lying about all of this. That becomes play number 2. And so the question is how integral was Cyree in deciding on how to tackle this? Only reason I'm asking this now is because where Cyree is sitting right now and what he is saying and who he's doing this with. The defense messed up by not presenting the right witnesses at a suppression hearing, including Cyree. Yeah, and my question is I want to know if there's talks about it and Cyree saying, no, don't use me yet. Let them walk themselves into something. I mean, who the fuck knows? Now you have to question everything. I mean, Ann Taylor, this is, we're getting into a very, very, this is unprecedented to me. And I think it's unprecedented to a lot of people. I can't go find a case where this has ever happened. But here, one would have to ask themselves, Cyree, you did not know that they filed what they filed on March 24th, and then your shit goes in on March 26th, and you're not over here saying, Ann, I need to respond to that, because it does not address that 7 days at all. Okay? And even after, so I've talked to a lot of people, it does not matter that the judge ruled that they're not going to have witnesses, and he made that ruling. Ann Taylor could have still filed the motion, and like, she has to make her record clear for her client. And that just did not happen with any of that shit. And I want to know why. And I think Brian should want to know why. Because that was just, it doesn't make any sense. It's very illogical to me that somebody who just blasts an affidavit like that and claims in this book that he brought the receipts. There's no receipts there. Read that shit. Where is there anything that's attached? He's making these claims. And what you needed to do is you needed to bring the receipts in your affidavit with the attachments, with the exhibits. But I think it would require throwing certain people under the bus. Why was Boyd Jackson's name used? If you're going to just say his name, I think that's like Jesus. But to see to hear that the original motion said that GLDC did not produce timing advance records until May of 2023. The reply said something different. Before June of 2023, AT&T retained timing advance records for 7 days. These are not the same argument. No shit. The first says the mechanism to produce the records did not exist at GLDC in 2022. The second says the records existed but expired after 7 days. Attached to the reply were certificates of authenticity from AT&T GLDC signed by a director of compliance introducing the 7-day retention language for the first time. Well, then I had sent Cy-Ray, you can send them whatever you want. They just can't tell you anything. I had sent him the Shanna Gardner case where Mark Sonnendecker and the ATF was brought in and they were using AT&T timing advanced, and it was in 2022, way before the murder of these students, and how AT&T and the ATF went about that. And I think that it was very like, here you go. You take a look at this. Take a look at this shit. Because if there's a case that you'd want to show that this is happening in and where the federal government was aiding in the Jacksonville Beach Police and Sheriff's Department, this is the case. And I'm just curious if that ever made its way to the proper hands. I said, what's your relationship like with Mark Sonnendecker? Maybe you should ask him if he would testify. I mean, trust me, I was providing information thinking that it was getting back to the people that it mattered to get back to. Because I'm over here looking like this lying needs to stop. We as people of the United States of America, this freely lying in a courtroom needs to stop. Period. And this playing games with people's lives and using cases to make a career, or here, fine, you want me to show you guys what I can really do? You guys want me to go ahead and free a fucking killer? Here, I'll show you. The defense expert's affidavit, completed before the reply was filed on March 26, 2025, 2 days after the state introduced an entirely new argument. Yeah, but there was time to hold off filing it. That's what's not being addressed. And that's what it needs to be addressed, is who the fuck would ever do that? Think about this. Here's a perfect analogy. You get a piece of mail and you find out something on the 1st. Awesome. Then you're going to go do something and you do something on the 1st and the 2nd. And then before you even go to mail something off on the 3rd, you get more information. Are you going to put in the mail what you just had done, or are you going to add to it? Because it wasn't like they were on some like, well, I have to get this in because, I mean, what? Supplement it. Who would just file something? I don't know. So that's what's missing, is why Ann Taylor would file it, because on paper it looks like it came after. Unless Ann Taylor's going to be pointing that out and saying that my expert filled out his affidavit on this day before that was even brought up. I mean, where is that? Where is Ann Taylor saying that? She never did. The affidavit did not address the 7-day retention period. It could not have. The 7-day retention period was not part of the state's argument when the affidavit was drafted and completed. Yeah, but Ann Taylor knew what it said. And Ann Taylor knew what she was filing, didn't answer it. What the fuck is wrong with people? Like, the expert responded to the motion that existed. So then Cy-Ray's gonna have to say, like, I did not know about the other. And then it's gonna be like, what are you talking about? You didn't know about it. You're saying in this book that you did. And it was publicly filed. Think about that too. All of this shit was publicly filed. The expert responded to the motion that existed. The state then changed the motion. And the gap that changed created was used against the expert as though it were a failure of the analysis rather than a consequence of sequence. The hearing. On March 18, 2025, the court issued an order denying live witness testimony at the April 9th hearing. So think about this then too. If you're saying on March 18th, the court issued an order denying live witness testimony on April 9th, that means your affidavit, okay, as we all know, if you've been following this around, came after that. Came after the court saying that nobody is going to be testifying live. Witnesses could submit declarations. The court reserved the possibility of hearing remote testimony. The defense expert was available by video stream, ready to testify, ready to respond to the state's new argument in real time. Why would you not file something? Ready to walk the court through the CLA-EA form. Ready to explain the distinction between GLDC and the FBI's compliance pathway. Ready to address the 7-day retention period and explain why timing advanced data from December or from any period ground truths the network the prosecution's entire cellular analysis depends on. Why didn't you file something? How come Ann Taylor couldn't explain this to Hippler when Hippler's talking about the 7-day retention period? Did you not inform Ann Taylor what the fuck was going on here? So that she could actually make her arguments so that she could have been presented? Or was it like, don't say anything, don't speak for me? I mean, what truly went on? I'm dying to know. Because it makes no logical sense what the fuck happened. Cy Ray wants to come out and talk about Ann Taylor's about to die on the sword. How do we know that Cy Ray wasn't going to die on the sword? For Ann Taylor. Cy Ray says, why don't you think Ann Taylor has come out and talked bad about me like she did Turvey? Like that's some fucking award or something. I'm sorry, but if you actually take a step back and you think about this, I feel bad for Ann Taylor. What the hell is she dealing with here? Ann Taylor, I believe, pretty much knows this case inside and out, and somebody was talking and talking her out of things. Like, you're going to come across as a big conspiracy theorist. No, you're not, Ann. You're going to ask those cops why they lied in reports. That's not a conspiracy theorist. It is clear as day what happened here. And that there is no probable cause for Brian Kohberger. Because they did not use the IgG in the probable cause. And then they lied about this whole 1129 crap. The defense expert was available by video stream, ready to testify, ready to respond to the state's new argument in real time. What does that even mean? Why couldn't you respond to it in a motion? Ready to walk the court through, ready to explain the distinction between yes, yes, yes. The court never activated the feed. Okay, well then how about this? Why aren't you explaining it here? You know what I was expecting to see in this book? So let me explain this. What I didn't get to testify to. That's what I would be expecting to see next. You want to know what happens next? No, the ruling. On April 18, 2025, Judge Stephen Hippler issued a written order memorializing the oral rulings from the April 9th hearing. The state's motion was granted. The defense could conduct a narrow voir dire of Special Agent Balance outside the presence of the jury, limited to one question: whether he received Kohberger's timing advance records covering the earlier morning hours of November 13th and the prior months. You want to know why I think it's not in this book? And why Ann Taylor hasn't, you could say, reprimanded Cy Ray? Because I believe that Cy was going to have Ann Taylor's back when it came to all of this stuff. That's why it's not in the book. Or so that's what Ann Taylor was told, I think. If Balance denied receiving them, so here this is what was going to happen is, hey, you get to ask one question. If Balance denied receiving them, the defense could not explore the matter any further, not in the voir dire, not before the jury. The inquiry was closed. In footnote 10 of the order, the court wrote, Mr. Ray's affidavit, which forms the basis of the defense's challenge, is replete with speculation. And it is, because there's no receipts. And unfounded and thus highly improper accusations against the state. Further, not once in his affidavit does he address the AT&T 7-day retention period, which fully explains why the state was unable to obtain the relevant timing advance records for the defendant. The affidavit was characterized as speculation. The experts documented, sourced. What do you mean documented and sourced? What was sourced? Operationally grounded concerns built on 25 years of carrier compliance experience, supported by evidence that the FBI obtained timing advance records for thousands of other devices through the same process in the same investigation, were dismissed as highly improper accusations because you needed to lay it all the fuck out like a second grader. To say that, well, then why didn't they go back 7 days from the date that, they got them on the 23rd? That means they would have from 7 days back of that, right? Where are those? Because all we need is the coverage maps. Why wasn't that outlined? Which would have shown you a completely different coverage area than what was used, right? Isn't that what we're getting at? That even if you take those, you're still going to show this December mapping and it's going to look like a completely contradictory to what CAST used, right? Well, that wasn't laid out in my opinion. So again, and the basis for that dismissal was the expert's failure to address an argument that did not exist when the affidavit was written. That wasn't even an argument by Ann Taylor. Because how it looked on paper is that the state files that on the 24th and his gets filed on the 26th. The characterization during the April 9th hearing from the bench in open court in a death penalty prosecution subject to a gag order and wall-to-wall media coverage, months before jury selection, the judge characterized the defense expert's position as a conspiracy theory. And I have to ask you, man, how the fuck does one person not sit back and realize that you were ambushed on purpose? That's why they went in motion and did the motion in limine. They drew you out. They got you to play your hand, and then Ashley Jennings fucking, I cannot believe, outsmarted you. I cannot believe this. At first I didn't think that it was the case, but I'm now determined that it is the case. Why was he so secretive? There's a much larger issue here. There's a much larger issue here. I mean, just so we're clear, this much larger issue doesn't go away. This is nuts. So in the book, consider the structural consequences of that characterization. The defense's primary cellular evidence expert, the person retained to challenge the FBI's coverage mapping, to identify the missing data, to explain the duration field omission, to walk the jury through the difference between the assertions and the measurement in digital evidence, was labeled from the bench before a jury was seated. The jury pool is watching, the media is reporting. The characterization enters the public record. It does not expire. It does not require a citation. It is now part of the atmosphere in which this trial takes place. When the expert takes the stand to testify about undersized coverage areas, missing analysis, incorrect assumptions, absent timing advance data, a duration field that contradicts the prosecution's foundational timeline, and a warrant return that says records were received, every word arrives pre-contaminated by a judicial characterization issued months before the expert was permitted to speak. All because you wanted to beat around the bush and just not say what the fuck it was. But really, were you bluffing to begin with? I don't know. The expert brought receipts. Again, this word receipts. The expert brought receipts. Where? Where are these receipts? Remember, there's stuff that was sealed, but the expert brought receipts. The court never examined them. The label was applied to paper. The court declined to test, and the label will outlive the paper. Now, pull back and see the architecture. The duration field omission established that the FBI cast possessed data contradicting the prosecution's timeline. That's what now he's saying. He's saying that, now let's just pull this back and let me explain this to you. Basically, the duration field omission established that the FBI cast possessed data that contradicting the prosecution's timeline, documented their understanding of it, and omitted it. Again, bad actors. The temporal sufficiency standard from the section 11.2 that he just talked about, the holistic examination obligation, was violated. Available data was selectively presented. The full temporal record was not honored before the foundational claim was permitted to form. And what I'm saying here is that this was all bad actors. This isn't a systematic flaw. This is people lying. And what about this new lawyer? Well, this 1 hour and 58-minute video, just literally watch this. Get you caught up right away of what the fuck is going on here. He has a Moscow, Idaho attorney based out of Moscow, Idaho. He has a 1-star fucking review. He is a bankruptcy lawyer, a divorce attorney. What's there to talk about? We're going to call him here on the record and ask him if he's representing Brian Kohberger. The timing advance records established that the FBI specifically engineered a request for the one data product that empirically validates or destroys the coverage maps on which the prosecution's entire cellular analysis rests. The warrant was authorized. They got it all back. The return says record received. The data was never disclosed. Brady violation. The state's motion sought to prevent the defense from even mentioning the absence. The argument shifted between filings. The expert's affidavit responding to the argument that existed was characterized as a conspiracy when it failed to address an argument that did not yet exist when the affidavit was written. Now let me ask you something. How does somebody square this all up and say there is nothing to see here and that all of this is not for a greater purpose? That's when you have to ask yourself, well, if you would have done it the first time correctly, which was investigate the investigation when Ann Taylor trusted you and when you were providing her with, I don't know, consulting advice on the case. Instead, you just wanted to assume that, hey, this is just FBI cast doing what they've been doing for the past 7 years, which is railroading people with evidence that doesn't exist, and they're compounding evidence to, railroad somebody into a plea deal. What? Do you understand that that's your personal beef with the FBI? That's Cyray's personal beef with the FBI. That's what he believes. This is the perfect opportunity for post-conviction relief attorney to make a name for themselves. Well, that's... I don't know if that's the case here. Again, we have to wait around, stick around, see what happens. I'm curious as to why somebody out of Moscow would have been assigned to this and not somebody that's... my understanding, is he death penalty certified? Does he not have to be? The court denied the expert the ability to testify, then used the written affidavit frozen in time, unable to respond to the state's pivot as the basis for discrediting him. No, you could have still responded. The court then foreclosed inquiry. If the one person being accused of the omission denies it, the question dies. The warrant return, a court document filed under oath stating records were received, sits in the record. Nobody asked about it. No framework required them to. And then the judicial characterization sealed the closure from the bench on the record in open court months before trial. The expert who identified every failure of this section documents was branded a conspiracy theorist by the judge who will preside over the trial where those failures matter. Why do those failures matter? This is not a double standard. This is the full architecture of a systematic failure in the digital evidence era. No, it is not. This is not a systematic failure. This is bad actors that have been being bad actors from way before December of 2022. There's bad actors in this case that began the moment that the case happened. And it's just absolutely fucking ridiculous to read this shit. Every participant, prosecution, defense, judiciary is operating without the framework this chapter exists to provide. What the fuck are you talking about? And in the absence of that framework, the system does not pause. It does not self-correct. It accelerates. Narrative replaces evidence. Authority replaces validation. And the structural safeguards that should catch the failure, warrant returns, CLAE requests, empirical records, expert testimony, sit in the file unexamined while the court rules on the surface. Why do you think that fucking happened, Cy? The reader who believes Brian Kohberger committed these murders needs to understand what this section is not. The reader who believes Brian Kohberger committed these murders needs to understand what this section is not. The section is not an argument for innocence. It is not a claim that flawed cellular evidence means the wrong person was charged. It is not a defense of Brian Kohberger. This section is an argument about the machine. Yeah, the machine that's ran by fucking people. People. Humans. Humans. A criminal justice system does not derive its authority from outcomes. It derives its authority from process. When the process is credible, the outcome carries weight, guilty or not guilty. The verdict settles something. The public can trust it. The victims' families can rely on it. Every shortcut the system takes to convict the person the public wants convicted becomes the shortcut it uses on the person the public has never heard of. Every precedent set in this case everyone is watching applies with equal force to the case no one is watching. When a judge rules that timing advanced data challenges are speculative, that an expert raising documented concerns about selective data handling is making highly improper accusations. Yeah, because you didn't bring any receipts. There were no fucking exhibits. If the cellular evidence in the Brian Kohberger case supports a finding of guilt, it should support that finding because it was tested, not because the court prevented the test. A conviction built on untested evidence is not justice. It is luck. And luck is not a system. It is the absence of one. Nope. There was nothing about luck here. This was a case of bad actors. And this case needed to be investigated from the beginning. So much so that what Brent Turvey has said, okay, you need to get out of my chat down the rabbit hole, writing that crap. Come in someone's chat and write that shit. Who cares if Jules is contacting anybody? What the fuck does that matter to what the fuck we're talking about here? I'm just curious. Now I'm going to show you what does matter. Brent Turvey talking about, it's report 38. Report 38. I think people forgot about my rule in chat. We discuss other creators in chat. So if you're wondering why you're timed out or taken out, it's because we don't talk about other creators in chat. Again, nobody takes on this case. It's assigned. Now, go and look at report 38. And report 38... Whoopsies. There we go. Take a look here. Report was written up on 11/28/2022. This is a chain of custody issue. Why? I put this out a long time ago, and this is why it's a chain of custody issue. Because on November 18th, Anthony Dollinger saying that he met with the Moscow Police Department property Tim Smallridge released the following items to me. Well, guess what? On November 18th, there is no way that a November 23rd, 2022 blood swab existed. November 23rd, 2022, November 19th, buckle 11/23, and then this bloody glove that was from outside the house on 11/24. There is no way that you could collect any of this shit and take it from him on November 18th because it did not exist yet. And I put this out a long ass time ago. And I said, there's a problem here for me. Because what was Anthony Dollinger driving allegedly, supposedly to Boise and back? And then if you even go and check and say, well, he just must have messed up and it's really the 28th that he did this and he gets right back and, he writes this on 11/28. Well, I did the math. It is impossible to drive from Moscow, to Boise and back, and to do this and have this written up by noon the same day. Now, that right here, this is a token for Brent Turvey. There you go. There is chain of custody issues. There's tons of fucking issues. Ton. And whoever was doing this, hey, let's take a look at this from the beginning, because if they're lying about this, what else are they lying about? That's been always my thing. Is anybody that would take this on and catch this, right? One would have to ask themselves, well, you think this is the only thing that they're lying about? So, again, the glove that was found, this is that right here, that number, 2M2104. Glove, 11/24/2022. We know that that's when the glove was found. The bloody glove outside. So we know that it's impossible for that item number to be delivered on November 18th down to Boise. So, again, go back and watch my stuff. I found this a long time ago, and I'm like, this is crazy. And now here's Anthony Dollinger, who wants to testify and put an affidavit in for this Wednesday's hearing. This right here, no body-worn camera, no nothing. And it's, what did you truly take down to Boise on the 18th? Because it wasn't this material, because it wasn't available to be taken. And then if this is a typo, like I've shown you guys, that's a very interesting typo. Because when this was written up on the same day that, if it was a typo, like for, oh, it wasn't the 18th, it was the 28th that he did it, the same day that he wrote the report. You guys, he would have had to leave and go do this in the middle of the night. And go look and see when he works. He's the on-call person. And again, just, you would think that's, well then, let's GPS his vehicle. Go get his vehicle. There's GPS. See when he went down to Boise and came back. There's GPS of his vehicle. Go get it. Because something's up with this. Because why he's saying he took these pieces, it couldn't have been these pieces. So then maybe we should ask ourselves, I don't know, isn't that the same day between 11/18, 11/20 that they came up with the whole Brian Kohberger, this is his, we found the DNA that we're uploading into CODIS? Yeah, maybe they should take a look at that. And this is right where I would start, right here. So this one goes out to Brent Turvey. Now, now I want to play you the interview from a girl named MS. What up, Boston? And P.S. I see Down the Rabbit Hole posting some bullshit all the time, left and right on her community page. So you can swallow me down my motherfucking rabbit hole. Oh, Lan is feeling some type of way today. Yeah, just a bunch of bullshit. Okay.
You know the victims of this?
So Santa was a really close friend of mine. I'd say outside of my sorority, like she was one of like the closest people, like closest friend group we had. We were always together. Not always together, but like on the weekends and stuff. Like that's who I partied with, and that's who I was always around. And then Ethan was a really good friend of mine from a fraternity I was really close to. I knew of Maddie Mogan, and I had never met Kaylee.
And correct me if I'm wrong, you had spent a little bit of time with Xana and Ethan the night or two prior to the incident, correct? Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
That's right. So will you just kind of walk through, I guess, go as far back as you feel is pertinent, and then as you're recalling things, I would say don't, if there's like a small detail that you think is like, oh, that's not important or something like that, or something that maybe doesn't sit well with you. We're trying to gather as much information as we can, and so anything big or small, any information that you have, we'll take from you. So, like I said, go back about as far as you think is pertinent in regard to Saturday or even Friday, and just, like I said, we'll kind of give you like an open narrative forum to.
Okay, so Saturday was like kind of a weird day. It was raining. It was like the last home football game, and there wasn't a ton of people out. And it was in Vision, Idaho, so it was supposed to be dry on campus, and so we weren't even supposed to really have a lodge party. And a lodge party is typically what like St. Mackay would throw. They threw it all the time. It was like verified through the university, verified through FSL, like it was fine. And we all showed up to the lodge party, and it was kind of a weird, like there weren't many people, like it was kind of slow. Like usually the lodge party is kind of the biggest party on campus, and like everybody comes, and they keep names on everybody that comes in. And so St. Mackay has a complete list of everyone that walks through the door.
And real quick, not to interrupt you, I apologize.
You're good.
I am not remarkably familiar with Greek culture. What is a lodge party?
So a lodge party, the only reason they call it a lodge party is St. Mackay's like big party room is like they call it the lodge.
Okay.
And so everybody, you go in whenever at the front of the door. Like there's certain people that will like last year I never walked the door with like the guys in the front, but they have like people who are sober at the front, like looking at vandal IDs, like taking names down because for FSL you have to make sure like who's coming in and out.
And what is FSL?
Fraternity and sorority life. So it's like a group of like adults that like make sure that everything's good. And they keep tabs on everybody, but like for me, like I would usually read the pregame, so I wouldn't be involved in that like list, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And like if I walked through, like obviously like I ran for their sweetheart, so like I probably didn't get written down. But like anybody who like they don't know or like are super familiar with, typically it's written down or they have to be on the list. And so you go in, whatever. There wasn't a ton of people there that night, and so I spent a lot of time in the apartments that night. So St. Mackay is set up, and they have like their big party room like right here, and then they have like a grassy area out here, and then like apartments that go around like in this like big like square. And we were in an apartment. And I was sitting in there, and I guess I walked in, and Xana was in there, and I always, like, every time I see Xana, I was always like, oh my god, thank god you're here, like, so we sat down and we talked for a while about, like, how healthy her and Ethan's relationship was, and how she was really excited for her, like, wedding with him, because it was, I mean, like, not that they were going to get married anytime soon, but just, like, hypothetically speaking, like, St. Mackay Pi-Phi wedding would be, like, really fun and stuff. She talked about that for a while. I think I went back in and out of the lodge a couple times.
She said that her and Xana were talking about a wedding between Ethan and her, and that just a Pi-Phi Sigma Chi wedding would just be like so much fun. Wow. Again, this is MS, who was interviewed on 11/16/2026. Well, not 11. This was 11/16/2022, but this was redacted. I don't know why they're doing this, but this is the redacted version from the 11/16/2022 interview. They messed up when they put the 26 there. As you can see, it was just made. But it's supposed to be 11/16/2022. The reason that this dude is interviewing her from Idaho State Police is because, now this is really important, because this girl is not on Moscow's campus anymore, and she's out where Boise time is, okay? And ISP, this is what they were in charge of doing. Go out and interview people that had already went back home in the different areas, okay? And this is who you're going to go and interview. And so she's one of the people that is out in this, away from, Moscow, completely different district for Idaho State Police, and we're sending this dude, Warrington, to interview her. And he admits, he's like, I don't know shit what's going on.
And, like, Xana, like, that group could party pretty hard, and like sometimes you look over and be like, oh my gosh, you guys are really drunk right now. Like, of course, like me too, like all of us, you know, we're in grade 5. And Xana like wasn't super drunk that night. Like it wasn't like she was like plastered by any means. And my friend in this other room took a photo of her that night at 2 o'clock when she was at Sigma Chi playing the guitar, put it on her story. And so obviously she has that photo. You guys want to see it here, or is it just
Yeah,
like,
if you wouldn't mind.
I have it. Here. So many photos from recently. So this is on January story right at 2 o'clock in the morning at Sigma Chi, and that's Santa.
All right, and that was.
That's at 2 o'clock.
2
It doesn't say it. But
like right at 2 o'clock.
Yeah, right at 2 o'clock. It's on timestamps. I just have a screenshot of her story.
There you go. I just have a screenshot of her story. Thank you. Now, I cannot absolutely fucking believe this. This is not how you would make a timeline. When somebody posts something to their story, that does not mean that that's when that photo happened. You could have taken a photo throughout the night, just like, you know, at any point, you could take a photo that you'd taken like 3 days ago. Okay? But to hear that this is where they're coming up with the fact that that photo was taken at 2 a.m. is off of when somebody took a screenshot of somebody else's story. I just fall right over. Just absolutely fall right over. You'd have to go and get this girl Jackie's Snapchat, and you'd have to see exactly what happened here. What time did she take the photo? That's what matters. But this is what the information is coming from. And we needed this interview to be able to see how this was being reported. And I'm just like, this is exactly what I thought fucking happened. And I'm like, okay, well, you gotta go talk to this Jackie broad, and you should be getting her phone. I mean, it's really important when we're gonna be talking about that Xana and Ethan were at Sigma Chi house, right? Because remember the 1:48 time frame? Oh, Xana or Ethan was, you know, sending snaps back and forth to somebody and throwing up fucking, you know, fuck you signs, and that they were at Xana's at 1:48. So this is how this case, nothing was vetted. They were in the collection of gathering of evidence phase. They were not they were just like getting all the information. And then they were like, that's the phase of this investigation that they were in. Nothing was vetted here. And it's just mind blowing to think that criminal researchers and experts and whoever else was listening to these interviews did not make note of this, because I find it hard to believe. How could you not?
And who's
To go over here.
okay?
Yeah. And I don't really know how to get home that night, but like, I know when everybody was leaving, I think Xana and Ethan just got up and walked home. Like, I don't think that they didn't go anywhere else. I think they just went home after that. And I got a ride home with a kid named Mike, who was the Sigma Chi sober bro. Remember how I said, like, there's like sober kids that sit at the door and watch him comes in? Mike was one of those sober bros. And so he gave me a ride home to Game of 5. And then probably like literally right after, went to Grub Truck and picked up Kaylee and Morgan. Maddie, sorry, I was saying the last name. Yeah, Maddie and Kaylee.
Yep, you guys heard that right. Now this girl totally makes a complete false claim. And she says that she was picked up by somebody that's a sober driver and taken to her place. And after she was picked up, this sober driver then went and picked up Maddie. Well, she says Kaylee and Morgan. And she's like, I mean, Kaylee and Maddie. You guys, listen to what I'm saying here. This is an absolute bomb drop. Okay, this girl, wait till you hear this. This girl is saying she just believes that, and then they should tell you that the photo also wasn't taken at 2 o'clock in the morning. And if she's looking at something, it's in the time frame of Boise, so it's always going to be an hour ahead, so that's like at 1. Okay, so you can back this up and saying that picture no way was taken earlier than or later than 1 o'clock. okay, because she's taking and looking at a screenshot that was taken. Anyways, then she says she gets a ride. And she believes that those two walk home. Like, she just doesn't have any reason for this. She didn't see them, nothing. She just, boom. But she says that she gets picked up by a sober driver. And that this sober driver, she is just saying that, yeah, this is the same person that picked up Maddie and Kaylee. And watch where this heads to. And she's watched the grub truck and, like, just, this is just so bad. This is so fucking bad.
And in the grub truck video, you can see the truck and picked up. There's like sober kids that sit at the door and watch him comes in. Mine was one of those sober bros, and so he gave me a ride home to Game of 5, and then probably like literally right after went to grub truck and picked up Kaylee and Morgan. Maddie, sorry, I would say the last name. Yeah, Maddie and Kaylee. And in the grub truck video, you can see a bunch of guys and a bunch of kids are there and they're all hanging out with them, and then they walk over out of that video and they go over to their sober car and drove them home.
I think she's saying Max, by the way, this person. But again,
After we got home, we went to
And you said, I'm sorry, you said,
and picked up.
and is a guy or gal?
He is a guy.
Okay.
Kohberger, I believe.
and then I said, wait a second, what name could be considered a guy or a girl's name?
Called him sober bro.
Uh-huh. I don't know if he was sober, but I think he just came to get a grub truck. But I know he was a sober bro driver that night.
All right. And I'm sorry, did you say you went down to the grub truck?
I did not know.
Okay.
I went home. So picked me up only, and I was like one of the last people left. I almost walked home alone that night.
And he picked you up from
Sigma Chi.
Sigma Chi.
Because he's a Sigma Chi, and he drove me back to.
Do you know about what time that was?
That must have been probably right around 2.
And then from there,
Bottom line is, you guys, she's wrong. Okay? Eric Gower picked them up. Okay? So do you see how this is just crazy? Why isn't this guy asking, how do you know that the guy that drove you home drove them home? Like, what? Right? This is on 11/16. Where are you getting this information from?
went and picked up the girls from the grub truck.
I don't know if he went home first, but I know he's in the grub truck video, and I know that's who drove them home.
And I know that's who drove them home. Like, wait. What? Wait, what do you mean you know this is who drove them home? Like, trust me, this guy already knows about Eric Gower, so watch where this heads.
When you say the grub truck video, you mean the like live tweet Twitch one?
So bad. Oh.
Alrighty, so you were at Sigma Chi. Did you spend most of the time there at that apartment you were talking about?
Mm-hmm. I didn't go in any other apartments that night.
And did you go anywhere else? Did you go back into the lodge or anything like that?
Well, I went back and forth to the lodge in that apartment.
Okay.
Yeah.
And was Xana there the whole time?
I think Xana came back. Xana was just kind of bopping with us, like just
Okay.
back and forth to the lodge, apartment, hang out for a little bit, kind of thing.
Alright. When was the last time you saw Xana before? Where does Jay live?
Like she's
Okay.
so she's with me.
And-
we live in the same house.
Okay, and the video that you saw is in room, you said?
The video, so the photo I just showed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a photo of Xana in the apartment that we were all hanging out at 2 in the morning at Sigma Chi.
Oh, okay.
And what she has no recollection of here is that the fact that Kaylee and Maddie were picked up. If like, she's talking about Jackie, this girl Jackie Belevin or whatever the hell her last name is, Jackie Belevin. But she's like, yeah, my friend Jackie, that's who has the picture. I took a screenshot of her uploading the, picture of Xana playing the guitar. And that's what she's like, yeah, this was at 2 a.m. So Xana was there playing the guitar at Sigma Chi at 2 a.m. This is how this girl's brain's working. And just none of it's accurate. And it's just so disappointing to see that this made the timeline of the prosecution timeline. And this is how it made it. Which is wild. But it's yet so easily to be proven that it's just not true.
All right, so when was the last time that you saw Xana at Sigma Chi in your...
Well, I sat with her for a really long time, and then I sat with her. So probably the last time I sat down and talked to Xana, it was probably around 12:45-ish, maybe.
Yeah. Did you see Xana leave? Was she there when...
Jack probably did.
Do you know if she was still there when you left?
I think she was.
Okay.
But I don't know that for a fact.
Okay.
I was kind of wondering why they were there.
Alrighty.
So.
And so you got a ride home from...
Mhm.
And then what happened?
I went home, we had ordered pizza, so we were all sitting in my, like what they call like the day room, so you have like your day room where you keep all your stuff, and like the porch is where we all sleep. And I was hanging out with all my friends in our day room eating pizza, and then one of our friends texted us and was like, hey, do you guys want to come over to Big? And we're like, yeah. And so we were at Big probably till around like 4-ish in the morning. And then the next day I woke up and I was supposed to go study with some of the Sigma Chi's, and so I went over to Sigma Chi around noon when we all found out about this.
Got it. Did you stay at the big house?
No, I did not. I came back to. Oh, we all came back.
Okay, so you went to Big around 4.
No, we went to probably around 2:30, and then came back around 4. And Big's our next door neighbor. So
Okay.
Sigma Chi is like, so we have like Old Greek, where it's like most of the Greek houses, and then like all the way across campus on Admin Lawn is where Sigma Chi, AGD, AKL is.
Okay.
So it's like it's like a separate thing. Yeah, it's a pretty good walk. It's a solid like 5-6 minute, 7-minute walk.
And you said they're your next, like they're actually your next door neighbor. I'm really sorry. What sorority are you in? Right.
Yeah.
And where is your house and the house in reference to the victim's house? Are they anywhere close?
No, they're very far away.
Okay.
Well, no, I mean like far away in terms of like it's like the other side of campus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Over by like the Sigma Chi or...
Theirs is like, their house is like literally I was standing in the lodge, that lodge where we had the lodge party, looking across to Xana's house when all the cops showed up.
Okay.
Like it's like right there.
Okay.
You walk across, like, and that's like, King Street is where everyone lives. Like King Street is like where all the parties happen, like, that's where everybody is. It's like chock full of college kids in there.
Okay. So you came home around 4 from the house. And okay, so what happened after you came home?
Just went to bed.
Went to bed, and you woke up.
Probably around 11. Because I was studying at noon. You know, and at first we didn't know, you know, what it was. So there was a little bit there where we thought it'd be fentanyl or like carbon monoxide or something. But like Xana and Ethan weren't big drug people by any means.
Wait a second. We thought it was carbon monoxide or something? What? Yeah. This is Tina with What the Fuck Transition Services. Homicide carbon monoxide? Excuse me?
So there was a little bit there, but we thought it'd be fentanyl or like carbon monoxide or something.
And okay, so what happened after you came home?
Just went to bed.
Went to bed, and you woke up.
Probably around 11. Because I was studying at noon. You know, and at first we didn't know, you know, what it was. So there was a little bit there, but we thought it'd be fentanyl or like carbon monoxide or something. But like Xan and Ethan weren't big drug people by any means. I never saw them do coke ever.
How do you say fentanyl and carbon monoxide in the same sentence? Excuse me? Okay. And now this makes perfect sense, though, right here. When she says they are not big drug users and I've never seen them do coke. Okay, perfect. Let me explain how that works. People don't party in front of people that don't party. That's like a thing. So if you're not a partier, and that's how they will word it to you. Hey, do you party? Nobody ever asked me that when in college. You wonder why? Because they just knew, like, yeah, Lana doesn't do that. But so it was just like, I could totally see myself saying something like that, like, oh my God, that person never did, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then I'd just be like, oh wait, they were doing it with who? Where? Oh, well, I never hung out with those people. Oh, now I get it. Like, yeah, when you get what I'm saying? Like, so her saying that she's not a partier. Nobody would be doing coke with this broad. Nobody. Then they should know that.
Had you seen them do any other drugs?
Maybe like alcohol, but like nothing. It was mostly just alcohol and like Xana like really didn't even take edibles or anything. I also saw that night too.
Who's?
That was one of the roommates who survived.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm just
No, you're fine.
about stuff.
I do know some of the players, but just for the sake of this kind of being, we'll call it an isolated interview.
Okay.
I'm just gonna have you pretend like I.
Yeah, he said, who's Bethany? Who's Dylan? Did you just hear that? We'll let you hear it again. He's like, who's that? Like,
I also saw that night too.
Who's?
That was one of the roommates who survived.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm just
No, you're fine.
about stuff.
I do know some of the players, but just for the sake of this kind of being, we'll call it an isolated interview.
Okay.
I'm just gonna have you pretend like I don't know anything, don't know who anybody is, and so if you refer to somebody, I may
That's
just
fine.
clarify that.
Perfect.
this is unbelievable.
You said you saw Saturday night.
I saw yeah,
Oh, sorry.
I was sitting with Santa. Sitting with Santa, or was I sitting with? I was sitting with somebody talking on the couch that I talked to Santa at. Walked in
At Sigma Chi.
at Sigma Chi in that same apartment. We chatted for a second and then she left.
Do you know about what time that was?
I don't. I can't be certain on that. Sometime between midnight and 2.
This broad never says that she saw Dylan. This guy asks horrible questions, though, so.
Photo of an email that has a little bit of information on it.
It's this one. The one with all the colors.
No, it's
Oh.
so there's like an addendum.
I would do anything to find this guy.
I would imagine so. Do you know of any reason why somebody would want to hurt Xana or Ethan?
My gut feeling on this is that somebody was after either Kaylee or Maddie and then accidentally ran into Xana and Ethan. Xana and Ethan were like the most uncontroversial, I would say, like, and like I said, like, even before Xana died, I would describe, like, I describe her as the most popular girl in Greek girl. Everyone knew Xana, and everyone loved Xana. Like, every single hometown, like, there's just no, like, I've never been sitting in a room where somebody said, like, oh my god, did you hear what Xana did? Like, it wasn't like that with her. She was just always nice to everybody. If she realized in a situation that somebody wasn't included, she would invite him to the pregame, like, you know, sit with them. Like, it didn't matter who you were. Xana was, and Ethan was the same way. I mean, Ethan was just one of those kids that, like, was into the drama, just super nice.
Other than you don't necessarily see somebody wanting to go after those two, is there any other reason why you think somebody would be targeting Maddie or Kaylee?
You know, when I had left Moscow, my mom had come pick me up, and a couple of the Sigma Chi's came over and hung out with us. A couple of our really close friends, and they said that Kaylee had a stalker or something to that extent. But I don't know the validity in that. I don't know where they got that. I don't know anything about that. There wasn't, like, I mean, in terms of, like, animosity with anything, though, I mean, like, especially with those roommates, I mean, there was just no, like, there wasn't any fighting, and, like, Xana and I had, like, a lot of conversations, because her out-of-house last year, the one directly next to the house that she was living in, I mean, they partied, like, all the time, like, really hard, not like, drugs and stuff like that, but, like, wine night, tequila Tuesday, like, you know what I mean, just drunk a lot, and she was telling me,
Dude, that's fun as fuck. That's normal shit, man. Okay, we had the 80s night every Wednesday. Like, if you thought you could come and not sing 80s, like, you're not hanging out. You better bring your best Toto, okay? You better bring Prince, oh, 7 and we'll what? Come on now.
how great this year has been, because she, like, school more.
Good old days.
You know, she was going to the gym, and then she'd gotten a boyfriend, and, you know, things were going really well. And that's why I don't know. So this summer, I lived at,
This is gonna get wild. This gets a little wild. Get ready. This interview goes from, you know, carbon monoxide to wait till you hear this.
anyways, go back to bed. Like, it was just, I mean, it was just, like, it's such a porous, you know what I mean? It was so, everybody was just in everything, and it just didn't, yeah.
That girl just described an incident where she was living at over the summer and something happened. Like, somebody just, like, walking into her apartment or something like that. They felt the need to completely take that out of this interview. Whatever this girl went through, you know, this past summer living wherever, and wait for it. Because it comes back up, and you guys are about to fucking fall over.
And Xana was over a lot, too. So,
What have you heard other people say about this?
you know, there's a lot of different things rolling around. Nobody knows. The Twitch thing really freaked us out, because, like, in my mind, when I look at that, like, I know that he's, like, not a suspect anymore. I know how guys are, and, like, adult men are just fucking scary sometimes when it comes to, like, dating and going home with people and stuff like that. And those girls look really uncomfortable in that, and he looks really nervous in it. I mean, of course you guys can't tell me anything about it, but, like, that to me, like, my gut says that it's...
Who looks nervous?
The guy that puts on his hood when he walks up. The guy in the hoodie that's talking, and, like, stands behind him the whole time. And then when they're walking away, you look like that. And I just imagine.
Do you know who that was?
No, I wish I did.
Right. And you said he was in line behind them at the grub truck?
So the grub truck video, they walk up and he's standing like right next to Kaylee when he walks up, and then he gets the.
Okay, so think about this. She's like in the know. She's talking to people. They're all trying to figure out who the person is in the grub truck video, right? He just asked her, "Do you know who that person is?" She just says, "No, I don't." She doesn't know who Hoodie Guy is. Like, she didn't know who he was. Let's say that she doesn't know him personally, but all the people that you're talking to and like clearly in like group messages with, nobody has said that's Jack Showalter to this broad. Mind blown. Mind blown.
Grub truck backwards, and he's got his hood off, and he goes and he stands a little bit further away, because unless he's just an idiot, he doesn't know the grub truck streams. And he puts his hat on forward, puts his hoodie up, and then stands behind them like 10 feet the entire time. And then starts talking to some guy, and they point at him, and like Kaylee and Maddie kind of do like a "don't talk to us" kind of thing. And then when they're walking away, he went, and the direction he walks, if it's not mirrored or twisted or something like that, he like goes to walk toward them and like realizes they're with Chloe, and then directly walks like really hard the other direction, and like that just looked really angry to me and wrong.
What kind of vehicle were Chloe in?
I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know. It was my car, I think, because I was in it that night. I don't know what it was. I was drunk, so
Okay.
I don't know.
Car, SUV, truck.
She just says that she was drunk that night. You just heard it. I was drunk that night, but I was in so-and-so's car that night. So I can't remember what he was driving. Because she's adamant that the guy that took her home is the same guy that picked up Kaylee and Maddie. And he was a sober driver. Sobro. This, you guys, this next 22 minutes is literally going to mind fuck you. So just please bear with us. Because this is where Mason Bangman enters in the world of Idaho4.
Truck.
Car.
Color? Green car?
Maybe. And mom was totally ready to come. And like when I called him about this, I showed him the Twitch video, and he was like, "Oh my god!" And he like almost started crying to me on the phone. And I don't know if he's been talked to yet.
Okay.
So he was also sober and was super.
Monitoring.
Yeah.
Okay. And okay.
What's his last name?
It's a tough spelling. Yeah. No, it's tough. Let me see.
This girl lives at the sorority house. And she's telling them that her sober driver picked up Kaylee and Maddie.
And actually, while we're on that, can we grab your phone number as well?
Yeah. I didn't save. Absolutely.
She had a conversation with this person, and they were watching the grub truck video, and he tells her, "Hey, yeah, I picked them up."
And I mean, when I got in his car, we were talking about how lucky he was that he was sober that night, because like that watch party sucked so bad. Like nobody showed up, and he was like, thank God it wasn't like Halloween or something. But yeah.
Well, of all the nights to be sober for, that was a good one.
Yeah.
Can I grab your phone number? Have you heard any other theories being thrown out there?
One that kind of makes me a little scared. I think the only people on campus that are like the only people on campus that I've actually ever seen do coke or be involved in things like that, whippets, like that kind of stuff, mix in there, and I don't do it. Like it's just not my thing. But I'm not gonna tell you guys if I did, because we're doing this right now. But I've never done it, but I've watched people do it, and that I I'd say that like Kaylee would have been in. I don't know if she would have done it, but I know like circles around her would have. And again, like I said, I don't know Kaylee. Like Kaylee of all these people is the person I don't know.
She doesn't know anything, and she's just totally saying what she thinks. This is mind-blowing to me. To just, like, talk about stuff that you just don't know. This is gonna get wild. When she tells you guys who she spent the summer with and who she lived with on campus. She says that she lived with Mason Bangman during the summer. Again, all of this being redacted. Ridic. We'll give a little fast forward.
Of viable theories floating around within Moscow PD. I don't know what any of them are. I kind of asked a little bit earlier, but was there any other reason other than you don't think somebody would have been going after Xana and Ethan, why you would think somebody would want Kaylee or Maddie dead?
No.
The only reason you haven't heard other people around campus talking about either of those two.
Yeah, like I said, the only thing that I've heard of is like Kaylee having a stalker.
Okay.
That's the only thing I've heard. I don't know the validity of that.
Did Xana talk about any drama or beef or anything that she saw Kaylee have or Maddie have with anybody? Any type of offhand gossip that...
One person that might know better than me would be her friend. Pretty shook up right now over all this, but I'm sure she'd come in and talk to me.
And just is whose friend?
Xana's.
Okay.
She was really close. And so, who found them, are the people they called to come check out stuff, and her boyfriend. But they're both in right now. They had booked a trip, and they're like, well, why are we not going to go? So they went, so.
All right, and what was your last name?
Oh, it's like, or something like that.
Josie Emily Hunter, and she tells them that they're in Mexico.
And she would know, because like I mean, I was more like the person that came over like on the weekends and like hung out. Somebody that like was in the same sorority as her, lived with, and right now,
Josie.
a lot more.
This is all about Josie and Emily Hunter.
Is there anything around Xana while you guys were at the Sigma Chi house together that stood out to you as odd or anything like that? Something that didn't sit right with you?
Nothing. I really don't think this was an attack on Xana and Ethan.
Okay.
I think they accidentally ran into them.
Alright. Is there anything just kind of in, Saturday leading up to this or even Friday, just around campus, not necessarily around these, the victims that you saw that didn't sit right?
We've had a really weird year at U of I. We had, so last year, my friends were, which is a fraternity like right across the street from us, and they were sitting in a room that like had a window right above the door, and some guy with a bunch of face tattoos, and this has already been reported and stuff like that, threw a rock through the window while they were sitting there and like got mad at everybody. They had to barricade all the doors. It was like this whole thing. I don't think they ever found that guy. And then this year,
Wait, what? There's a guy with a bunch of face tattoos that threw a rock through a window at the sorority house? Wait, and they had to barricade themselves in the... Wait, excuse me? Wait, this has been reported already? This is Tina with What the Fuck Translation Services. We are on this. Who is this tatted up face man? He's got face tattoos. Listen to this shit.
But he was walking around campus asking students if there was a party, right, on like a Sunday night. We were like, no. And same thing, face tattoos, just scary dude in general. And they ended up like literally tackling him in front of and arresting him. So I don't know. That guy didn't seem like he was the only one of his type. Does that make sense?
His type?
And then there was also somebody who pulled a knife on somebody on Paradise Walk that I believe turned himself in. After that. But I mean, we had a very strange year. And then Yik Yak, there was somebody that said like, somebody wrote something along the lines of, women, if you're walking outside, I have a gun and nothing will stop me, or something like that. And of course, like, it's reported that Yik Yak's Yik Yak.
What?
And you can't find anything. So we've had a generally dangerous year, and I do love the university, like I'm pretty involved and stuff. And this summer I did, like UNO Mountain talks every Friday. And every single time I sat up there and I said how safe I feel and how I'll walk anywhere at night. It doesn't matter if I come back from the library at 2 in the morning. It doesn't matter if I'm, whatever. And now I feel like I lied about it. Like, I feel like I'm like, it's been a very strange year.
This is total opposite of everything that we've heard, that Moscow is such a safe place, and she's over here like, dude, this has been a strange year, let me just tell you. We have dudes with face tattoos that are trying to get up in our kitty cats by coming up to our doors and windows and blasting them with bricks. We got guys walking around campus with face tattoos, asking if there's parties on Sunday nights. Then we tackle them. Then we arrest them. What? What are you talking about? We're performing citizens' arrests over here. Then she wants to talk about the Paradise, area where a knife was pulled on somebody. Doesn't mention anything about the fact that the kid died, in May. You just found him floating in the, yeah. What else happened? What? It's just been a wild year. Well.
Other than the picture that you showed me of Xana playing the guitar, did you have any other, like, text or anything, communication with her after leaving Sigma Chi?
No, I am. The last text I sent, let me see, I'm seeing if I have any photos from that night. I didn't take one photo last night. Okay. The only text I sent to Xana in the last couple weeks is when I found out that something had happened here at Sigma Chi, and like I said, like the kid who we were supposed to study with, he like picked up the phone and was like, I think Ethan's dead, like I can't come do it right now. And so I immediately texted Xana and I said, I love you. And just never opened it.
This is the girl that was in the video now. This is where I was like, okay, stop. I know who this is now. This is Martha. This is the girl that talks about, she's part of the Dateline. When she's like, I text Xana and I say like, I love you because we hear about Ethan's dead. What? How is Ethan being reported dead? Xana, like, wait, what's going on? Xana was the person that was unconscious, laying there. So she's like, I text Xana and say, like, I love you because I hear about Ethan being dead. Like, so I'm, like, showing my support for her. And I would have gotten, like, a lot more clarity here, but that just doesn't happen.
All right, Sage, do you have anything?
No, I think that's it.
Did we get my phone number? You asked for my
Tomorrow, low, whatever.
Yeah.
And did we grab phone number from you?
I don't have
Okay. And did we ask last name?
His last name's
No.
like a Pew, like Colby. It's Colby. They're like, what, huh?
Another tough one. Yeah, it's I think this whole thing is, I think, the worst because, like, and I mean, no fault to you guys, but everybody keeps asking me if there's anything weird. There wasn't anything weird. And we're all sitting, I mean, my whole friend group sat around and talked about everything, and none of us saw anything that we went, oh, that was strange. And I think that's the worst part, at least from our perspective. Like, our friend group is more of, like, the Zanny Ethan side. I didn't really know the, like, Maddie Kaylee side of it as much. I knew Beth pretty well, I knew Def pretty well, but I just knew people that were under 21 that didn't go to the bars, kind of thing.
Yeah.
All of it's just strange.
Have you talked to your dad about this?
Yeah, I texted, so after the press conference and all the news reporters asked, like, what about the roommates? What if the roommates did it? I'm telling you guys right now, the roommates didn't do it.
Okay, guys. Right here, fall over. Look at the date of this. ISP, audio only, 11/16. It's supposed to be 2022. 11/16 was the day of the police presser. Okay? That's the first time that they ever did a press conference, was on this day. So what time is this interview? Okay? What time is this interview? Because we know the police presser for over there, they were doing it at, God, I want to say it was either like noon or at 3, because I just remember that it was like 3 or 6 our time. And so she's over here, she's like talking about the fact that when you guys did your first police presser, well, that is on this day. Unless this is a fucking typo, which I'm going to look into. But on 11/16, you would be saying, you know what you guys said today at the police presser? Like, what? So again, I'm going to rewind this part.
I just knew people that were under 21 that didn't go to the bars, kind of thing.
Yeah.
All of it's just strange.
Have you talked to your dad about this?
Yeah, I texted, so after the press conference and all the news reporters asked, like, what about the roommates? What if the roommates did it? I'm telling you guys right now, the roommates didn't do it.
I'm telling you guys right now, the roommates didn't do it, and then they just go into a redaction. And then this is all redacted. This is over redaction. This is nuts. What the fuck would be redacted from here? I'm telling you guys right now, the roommates didn't do it. What? I'm telling you guys right now, the roommates didn't do it. Remember, at the time, what's going out there is that nobody saw anybody. So it was just like Dylan and Bethany in a bedroom. So I think whatever she says there, like, that needs to be played. Because she talked to them. What did they say? That's privacy? No, it's not privacy. You gave up your privacy when you told people stuff. Right? Hello?
Said anything about the incident to you?
No, I haven't really tried though. The only person I've really asked, like, firsthand was, because Ed and I are really, really close, and so is really close too. And the day after it happened, we were out getting coffee, and we texted and we're like, "Hey, we have coffee for you guys," because the cops had put them up in the back. And we came out, and what it told me, and of course Emily can tell this story better than me, but said that they stay at the Whites, right? So it's like Sigma Chi, the Whites, and then all of these out of houses right here, all a bunch of different houses. And Dad saw something in the middle of the night, saw a guy, and I'm telling you, I literally saw people walk out of my front door and went, I wonder who that was. Like, it's pretty, and saw somebody heard something, did something, locked her door, went to bed, and then thought, gosh, that was weird. And then woke up the next day at noon, like the rest of us, It was, probably, she went to bed probably around 4. And then woke up, called in, and was like, I have a really weird feeling. Can you guys come over for a second? Come check things out with me, like downstairs. Because Xana, like when you walk into the downstairs, like door, right? And you walk in the door, you literally, there's a staircase and then Xana's room. And so that's why I think that somebody must have walked in that door, saw them, went, fuck, like that's, I gotta kill them.
Oh my god. Do you guys know what the fuck she's just saying? She's saying that Xana's room is right when you walk in the door and you can have the option to go right up the stairs to the left. That boom, right there to the right, it's Xana's room. And so somebody came over, opened up the door, and was like, oh my god, what they saw right there. What? What the fuck? Witness interviews do not give up their privacy. No, I didn't say that. I said this person who's being interviewed and speaking in is hearsay. What do you mean? So I'm going to rewind this. And that's not accurate, Betsy. I'm sorry, but that's just not right. I'm going to rewind this. But she's under the impression that Xana's room is on the first floor. Do you understand that? This broad.
Called it and was like, I have a really weird feeling. Can you guys come over for a second? Like saw something in the middle of the night, saw he came out and what told me, and of course everybody can tell this story better than me, but said that they
So like this is what Emily had told me.
obviously they stay at the Whites, right? So it's
Emily and them stay at the Whites. Emily, Josie, they said the Whites, obviously.
like Sigma Chi, the Whites, and then all of these other houses right here, all a bunch of different houses, and had
And that Dylan had.
like saw something in the middle of the night, saw a guy, and like I'm telling you, like in Mossy, like I literally saw people walk out of my front door and went, I wonder who that was. Like it was pretty, and
She's over here saying like I've seen people just walk out of my front door like wondering like who the fuck that was. Like what? She's saying that just pretty much just happens all the time. That's not normal. Okay? So if like this is considered normal in Moscow, like it's just not normal. But maybe that's why they're like nothing ever happens in Moscow because that's normal to them. But literally every day something weird's happening there.
saw somebody and or heard something, did something, locked her door, went to bed, and then thought, gosh, that was weird. And then woke up the next day at noon like the rest of us, you know. It was, probably, she went to bed probably around 4. And then woke up, called and was like, I have a really weird feeling. Can you guys come over for a second? Come check things out with me, like downstairs. Because Xana, like when you walk into the downstairs, like door, right? And you walk in the door, you literally, there's a staircase and then Xana's room. And so that's why I think that somebody must have walked in that door, saw them, went, fuck, like that's, I gotta kill them too kind of thing. Anyways, though, they call over, opens the door and sees them, calls the cops, and then walked out, and they were like puking. They were so like literally vomiting outside of their house. And
Now we know where this puking, vomiting came from. What is this broad talking about? You guys, this is Tina. I gotta just laugh right now. I'm sorry. Hold on. What the fuck is she talking about? Who did she get this from? Who? Oh my god, she's... Dylan just woke up like the rest of us like at noon. What? She has not... You guys, but Xana was never... When did Xana live on the first floor? Did Xana live on the first floor for a little bit and then move up to the second floor when Kaylee moved up? I'm just trying to understand this. But here, right here, she's talking about people are barfing. They're coming out of the house. Who is providing her with this shit?
like that's, I gotta kill them too kind of thing. Anyways, though, they call over, opens the door and sees them, calls the cops, and then walked out, and they were like puking. They were so like literally vomiting outside of their house. And then they were all standing around. They're like, "Do you guys know where Kaylee and Maddie are?" And that's how they figured out that Kaylee and Maddie had died too. They hadn't even saw it or heard it or anything.
And what's last name? Alon?
Yeah, a lot.
Okay.
And like I said, she's in Mexico right now.
Oh,
they
that's
booked
right.
Mexico trip and yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you feel investigators should know? Anything you feel is pertinent, not pertinent? Anything else?
Go back to the Coke thing. There's only one person in Moscow who most of the get their Coke from. I guess I probably should tell you this. He used to also kind of hang out with Xana.
Okay.
And like Xana, and like he would turn her to come formals kind of thing. I don't think we did this. His name's Bangman. He also doesn't even go to U of I. He just lives on the University of Idaho campus and pretty much.
Right here, she outs the local Coke dealer as Mason Bangman. You heard Bangman. They didn't catch that redaction. And she's like, okay, going back to the Coke thing, like, this is who would hang out with Xana. And, like, he took her, like, you know, formals and stuff like that. And right here. And this is, like, the players you're talking about. This is who they would get their Coke from.
His name's Bangman. He also doesn't even go to U of I. He just lives on the University of Idaho campus and pretty much just hangs out. They didn't have like a terrible falling out. Xana didn't have terrible falling outs. There was never anything that was like, oh my god, like it was so, you know what I mean? Nobody hated her, including me. Posted a bunch of stuff about this and how sad he is about it, and I believe him. But had his fair share of like drug stuff and he used to date Xana.
He used to date Xana. He's a big time wrestler.
I actually led with that. I told my mom that and she was like, oh my god, Martha. I'm like, I know some, like I said, I lived here the summer I lived in the house he's living in right now. He's a devil that got.
Okay. She's about to just go and unleash these next 5 minutes. It's just going to be diarrhea. She tells us that she was living with Mason Bangman in the summer. Okay, this is when she was talking about her summer experience. She lived with this dude and just now wants to talk about him.
Kicked out of death. I'm like, I know some, like I said, I lived here the summer I lived in the house he's living in right now. He's a devil that got kicked out of death. Because he chased a bunch of kids back to the dorms one night. He's somebody should probably have a conversation with.
Okay.
Somebody should probably have a conversation with him.
Anything else?
He chased a bunch of people back to the dorms.
Yeah, he was, I don't know if he was drunk or coked out or whatever he was, but so Old Greek is like right here, right? The dorms are like right here, Singing High and all this stuff is over here. And he chased a bunch of back to the dorms and was like barking at them and like, that happened like 3 years ago.
She said he chased a bunch of kids back to the dorms and was barking at them. Barking. Like, ruff, ruff, ruff. Barking at them. Do you guys, I told you, if you don't fall out of your chairs, barking at them. Barking. Ruff, ruff.
Here, Singing High and all this stuff is over here. And he chased a bunch of back to the dorms and was like barking at them and like, it's the reason he got kicked out of happened like 3 years ago. I don't think Mick's a violent guy. I also don't think Mick would have the physical capability of being able to kill Zan or being able to kill Ethan just because he was so much bigger than him.
Chased him on running after
Yeah.
him or drove his car.
Yeah, barking at him. I'm gonna kill you, kind of. Yeah, like I mean, not obviously. You make people throw it around. Yeah. you gotta know what kind of is. I paid rent to all summer, and it was like $150 a month or whatever, right? And instead of paying the landlord, he just pocketed all the money, kept all of it, right? As a fraternity man would, right? And so we got an eviction notice this summer because we didn't use any of the money we paid him to pay any of the rent.
Of course.
Yeah, which was really good, you know. Good landlord liaison.
Wait, excuse me? We paid him, it was like, I paid $150 a month. Okay, and Mason was just pocketing the money. He didn't pay the bill of the, like, he didn't pay the rent. And so they got an eviction notice.
This is him. This is a fun story. I'm like, this is a photo of him and Santa together.
Martha, you in danger, girl.
Let's see if I can-
Oh my God, what the fuck?
Okay, what's this one?
If this detective knew anything to ask, Martha would just be providing it.
Is his name on there?
Yeah.
It's
Mason. Well, like I said, I don't. The idea that we would do this is pretty outlandish to me. But will understand the drug portions of it, and that side of things.
Thank you.
All right. And you're pretty confident that not to go out of left field. You're pretty confident that this is the one that picked them up from the grub truck.
I'm 100% positive that's who drove him home.
Do you know much about an Uber driver named?
We don't take Ubers very often in Moscow. Uber is like not something people do very often.
Okay.
For a while, the university was trying to do like bagel Ubers, where like all Ubers were free, and I think we were doing stuff like taking it to Boise and stuff. I had to kind of curb that a little bit. But no, I don't.
Okay. You never got a ride from a guy named.
No. We never. Again, we don't. Lyft was trying to come back, but like Uber and Lyft weren't super popular.
Okay. I think that's really all we've got.
Okay.
Well, I will tell you this. She is 1000% adamant that Eric did not pick up the girls and that it was this other dude, number one. And number two, we didn't use Lyfts and Ubers. I don't know who Eric is. And it's like, wow, I wonder if you just would act like you're Ubering and lifting as like an undercover thing or as a cover thing to whatever it is that you are actually fucking doing. But this girl needs to be asked some questions, okay? Because, I mean, I guess that kid just wanted to seem important to say, oh yeah, I picked up Maddie and Kaylee from the grub truck. I don't know. This is absolutely fucking wild. Absolutely fucking wild. She thinks that, you know, Xana's on the first floor. She thinks that Dylan was upstairs. She wanted help to come downstairs, meet me downstairs because I want to check on things. What? Like, this is, and here she's like, Emily was just providing me with this information. Emily is probably like, what the fuck, Martha? Do you have a hard time hearing? Like, I didn't say any of this shit to you. Or maybe, I mean, who knows? Who knows? But Martha over here, Martha just literally just, wow. Wow. Go check it out. Martha was part of the Dateline. Martha's been involved in this case. It was one of the first January 2023. Martha appears on the screen. I'm telling you, that's the chick. We're going to leave it right there. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. That's the end of the audio. I don't think there's any more left here. There's a minute and 23 seconds, so we'll just let it ride.
Well, like I said, I'll keep your information on hand if there's anything else.
Okay.
One of the many rabbit trails we can probably go down.
Okay.
And if there's anything else that you would like to include that you didn't, you can reach out. I'll leave you. I don't have any business cards with me. I could probably run to my desk and grab one, but I'll leave you our information, and then you can call in and we can take an additional statement over the phone or meet up with you somewhere.
Okay. I just want this guy dead. Whoever did this. Like, not to be morbid about it, but like, I want to be there when he gets like sentenced to death and stuff.
I want this guy dead. I want to be there when he's sentenced to death and stuff. I forgot that was at the end. I'm so glad that I continued to play. Again, everyone's just thinking that this is one person. One person. What's up, girl? I'm so glad you have me all the way back in the case. Anything I can do. You're the best.
So that's, I put both of our names on there. That's my phone number. Is a cell phone, so you can text it if you just have a quick minute, like, hey, can I call you in a little bit or something? Or if you don't call it, you can also call the office and get a hold of my desk phone as well.
Is this something I can like tell people to call?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And then with that, we'll conclude the interview at 3 o'clock.
Oh my God, right there, bomb drop. Okay. We're going to conclude the interview there at 3 o'clock. That means it started 45 minutes before that, which would have been, 2:15. Go take a look and see what time that November 16th was the first police presser. Go check out the time that the police presser was at. I'm telling you, I swear we watched it. Maybe it was 3 here, so it was noon there. I'm going to double take. I'll do it. Maybe it was 2 and then therefore it was 5. I'm going to do a double take, but I'm telling you, you guys need this. This girl was part of Dateline. Okay? This is why Dateline, you suck. Your shit is so fucking bad. This is Martha. Jesus. Why didn't you let Martha say any of this other shit? Okay? Martha, you rock, girl. I personally believe that these dudes did not ask you enough questions for you to clarify your answers. They didn't ask you where you're getting this information from. Maybe they did, and it's stuff that's redacted. So I stand with Martha in the fact that this man didn't even know who Dylan and Bethany were, which is proof that this man has no business interviewing you. Okay? You probably were blown away. Like, you don't know who Bethany is? Like, come on. So, again, wow. We'll be back later tonight. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Moderators, thank you for modding. Everybody that wanted to blow up chat and talk about stuff that didn't, that wasn't about this live. There's other videos I have that probably are discussing whatever it is that you want to discuss. Brian Kohberger, like I said, there was nothing to say about his attorney. Okay, he's got a 1 fucking star review. If you want me to sit here and tell you about his attorney, okay, his attorney, yeah, that's my thought right there. Take that, quote that. Hear that silence? There is nothing to fucking say. Absolutely nothing to say. The attorney that I've researched right now has no business doing this. Right there, take that quote right here. This deafening silence. There you go. Use it. Quote me. We'll see you on the next one. Peace out. 1 fucking star, man.